Let's go and install the Android Studio in our Windows operating system. So go to your browser and type Android Studio download. And then go to developersandroid.com/studio and click on the Download Android Studio button. Select the agreement and hit download. And your download should proceed. So let me pause this video until the download is finished. And here is our Android Studio. So let me double click on that. And then hit run. Now hit next, next, and then finally hit install. Now hit next, and finally start the Android Studio. And then you will see a message like no Android SDK found. So just click next, and it is going to download these components. So let me hit finish. And this may take some time, so I'm going to pause this video. Alright, now let's go to SDK Manager and let's go to SDK Tools. Make sure you have downloaded all these files and finally this Intel Emulator Accelerator and hit OK. And then we need to download this Intel Emulator Accelerator, so hit OK. And I'm going to leave this as default, but if you have bigger RAM, then you can increase this value. So let me hit next. And then hit finish. Now I want you to go to the AVD Manager and let's create the virtual device. So we're going to select the Pixel 2 and hit next. And here we need to download one system image. So let's download this Android queue. And once your download is complete, hit finish. Now select this Android queue in here and hit next. And this is going to be our device name. And I didn't want this enable device frame and hit finish. And here is our virtual device as well. So let me close that. Now we are fully ready to create our Android Studio project. And I will see you in the next part. Hello my wonderful people out there. In this episode, we're going to install the Android Studio in our Mac operating system. So just type Android Studio download and go to the developer.android.com/studio. And click on Download Android Studio. Select the checkbox and hit Download Android Studio for Mac. And your download should proceed. So this is a large file and I'm going to pause this video until the download is finished. And once your download is finished, come to the download folder and double click on this DMG file. And then just drag this Android Studio to application. And we have installed the Android Studio. Let me close this. Now let's go to application and you should see Android Studio in here. Double click on that. And hit open. And select don't import setting and hit OK. So if you see something like this, select all of them and hit delete directories. And then you will see Android Studio setup wizard. So let me hit next. Select the standard installation and hit next. And let me go for white theme. If you want, you can go for black theme as well. And let me hit next. And then our Android Studio is going to download the software development kit. Okay, so just hit finish. Since the download size of Android SDK tool is very large, I'm going to pause this video. And finally, we have installed the Android SDK components. Now let me hit finish. I want you to go to the configure and then AVD Manager and then you need to download the emulator. So click on install emulator and select the license agreement and hit next. And I'm going to pause this video until the download is finished. And here we go, we install the Android emulator as well. So let me hit finish. And finally, we need to download the Android software or Android image for our virtual device. So just click on this download option and click OK. Now it is going to download the Android system image for our Android emulator. Its size is 1.1 GB, so let me pause this video until the download is finished. And we have finally installed the Android system image as well. So let me hit finish. And our virtual device is also ready. So let me close this. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Hello there, welcome back. From this section, we're going to learn Android application development. First of all, select this option called Start a new Android Studio project. And here you can see we have lots of design templates for developing application for phone and tablet. Now if you go to Wear OS, you can see we have a design for developing application for Android Watch. And similarly for TV and Android Auto as well. So for now, let's go to phone and tablet. And let's select the empty activity and let's hit next. And we need to give our application name. So let's give our application name as Learning Android. And here we need to give our package name to our application. And package name is a unique identifier for our application. And there are some general convention of writing the package name. So for example, let's say our website is abc.com. Then we're going to write our package name like this. com.abc, and then we're going to write our application name, so that is Learning Android. And if you don't have domain name, then you don't need to worry about that. You can place anything. For example, you can write Google or Facebook, and as of now we're going to say com.example.learningandroid, and this is our working directory. You can change this directory if you want. Okay, so for now I'm just going to leave it as default, and here we're going to select the Java. And here we're going to select the API label as 15. Now if you click on this, you can see we have a API label up to 29 as of now. Now here is a little option. If you click on this, help me choose this, you can see we have a nice chart in here. So if you click the API label as let's say 16, then our application is going to run in 99.6% Android device worldwide. So for now they have not specified the percentage market share of this API level 15, but you can assume that if you select the API level 15, then you can be sure that our application is going to run in the more than 99% of Android device worldwide. And depending upon the application complexity and requirement, we can select this API level. So for now, let me hit OK. And for now, our application is not going to support the instant apps. And instant applications are those applications which we don't need to install them in our Android device. We can directly run those applications without installing. So for now, we are not going to select this option, and let's hit finish. So if you are starting this Android Studio for the first time, then it is going to take some time. So let me close this. So here you can see we have two files called mainActivity.java and activity_xml. So let's go to activity_main. And here you can see we have a text view which says hello world. So let me zoom this a bit, and here is our hello world. And don't worry about anything about these attributes. I'm going to guide you step by step as we go on. So for now, if you go to folder called manifest file, you can see we have a file called androidmanifest.xml file. So let me open this. And here you can see we have an activity called main activity. And here you can see we have an intent filter, and we have mentioned the action as main and category as launcher. And again, don't worry about anything about these attributes. I'm going to tell you as we go on. So for now, it is showing some error, and it says app is not indexable by Google search. We need to add action view intent filter. So let me copy this, and I'm going to paste that in here, and instead of main, I'm going to say view. And you can see our error is gone. So basically in this Android manifest file, we're going to declare all of our permissions, our activities, services and broadcasts. So you can think this Android manifest file as the dictionary, where we're going to track every single component of our application in this single file. So for example, let's say our application needs internet permission. Then we're going to declare that permission in here. So we can say uses permission, and we can say android.permission.internet. Similarly, let's say we want to read the phone number. Then we're going to say uses permission, and we're going to say read contact. So this is the major functionality of Android manifest.xml file. So for now I'm going to remove this user's permission. Now let's run our application. So here you can see we have a run icon. So let me click on that. And here's our application called Learning Android, and it says hello world. So for those who are having problem to open the Android emulator, so just go to this option called ABD Manager. So in your case there is no virtual device. So I will show you how to create the virtual device one more time. So let's go to create a virtual device. And here we can select phone and let's select Pixel 2 and that's it. Next. And here we need to download the Android system image. So if you have not downloaded that, go ahead and download that and hit next. And you can rename the device if you want. And you can enable or disable device frame if you want. And finally hit finish. So once you hit finish, then you will going to see virtual device in here. And just click on this green option to launch your ABD. So let me close this. And once your emulator is running, you can click on this green button. And you can see it is going to install the application. And here is the application one more time. And this is all we're going to cover in this video, and I will see you in the next part. Hello my dear wonderful people. In this episode I will show you how to run your Hello World program in your real device. So for that, let's go to our settings, and inside our tools you can see we have an option called Connection Assistant. So just click on that and it is going to open this tab. So we need to connect our Android device via USB to our laptop or computer, and then let's rescan device. And Android Studio has detected my device, which is of Samsung. So once your Android Studio has detected your device, you are good to go. So let's hit next. And it says we need to enable USB debugging. So for that we need to go to setting and we need to type couple of times to our build number option. So let me show you how we can do that. And here's my real device, and in my settings I'm going to type the build number. So let me click on this option, and then I'm going to click couple of times to this build number. And it says no need developer mode has already been enabled. That's because I have already enabled developer mode in my device. So if I go to back, and in my setting you can see there is an option called developer option. So let me click on that. And then you need to enable this option. So just enable this, and once you enable this option in your Android Studio, you should see your device. So just select your device and hit run. And then it is going to install our Hello World program in our real device. And here is our Hello World program in my real device. And if you have any problem running your application in your real device, then do let me know and I will be there to help you. See you in the next part. Hello guys, in this episode I will show you some of the Android Studio settings that you can use to improve your coding experience in Android Studio. So if you are in Mac, go to Preference, and if you are in Windows, go to File and then Setting. So first of all, let's go to Appearance and Behavior and select the Appearance. And here we can choose the dark theme and light theme. So if you select the Dracula and if you hit OK, and here is our black theme. Now let me go to setting one more time, and I'm going to switch back to light theme. Now if you go to editor and inside the general and click on auto import, and make sure you have selected this to checkbox. And once you select this to checkbox, it is going to automatically import all of our package and class for us, so that we don't need to do that manually. So I highly recommend you to choose this to option. Now let's go to appearance one more time, and here we can assign the background image as well. So let me click on this and I can select the background image. So let me select that, and I'm going to choose one image and let's say open, and let's click OK and OK one more time. And here is our image in the background. Now you can type your code in here. And I have one more tips for those people who have bigger RAM. So let me go to setting one more time, and inside our appearance and behavior, inside system setting, and here we have the memory setting, and here we can increase the heap size. Similarly for here as well, we can increase the heap size if you want, and this is going to make our Android Studio a little bit faster. And if you are running the Android Studio in low RAM, then you can skip this option And our Android Studio will going to optimize the heap size for us. And I will see you guys in the next part. Hello guys, in this episode I will explain you the basic fundamentals of constraint layout. So if you go to activity_main inside our text tab, you're going to see a constraint layout in here. So this is our view group, and we have one text view inside this view group. And if you place your mouse inside this text view XML, and then you will notice the 4 strings or constraint coming out from this text view. So this is your top constraint. This is your bottom, left and right. So what this constraint do is that it tries to pull the text view towards itself. For example, this top constraint is going to pull this text view towards the top. Similarly, this left constraint is going to pull the text view towards the left. This bottom constraint is going to pull the text view towards the bottom. Similarly, this right constraint is going to pull the text view towards the right. So let me show you with the demo. So if I hover on this top circle, it says to delete the top constraint, I need to click Command plus click. And if you are running Windows, it is going to be Control plus click. So let's do this, Command plus click. So I have deleted the top constraint. So that's why our bottom constraint is going to pull our text view towards the bottom. So let me undo this. Now I'm going to delete this bottom constraint now. So Command plus click to delete that. Now you can see our top constraint is now pulling this text view towards the top. So if I undo this and if I delete this left constraint, then our right constraint is going to pull our text view towards the right. So let's do this. And here you can see that. So let me undo this as well. So that's the fundamental building block of constraint layout. And you always need to remember this thing. Now I will show you how to write XML code for constraint layout for a particular view. And in our example, these 4 lines are responsible for adding the constraint to our text view. And I'm going to delete this constraint now. Now let's learn how to write the constraint to our view. So here is our text view, right? So I want to add the constraint top first of all. So I'm going to type C for constraint and then I'm going to type top. And here you can see I have 4 options. Now I want to add the constraint top to top of parent. So that's why I'm going to type top again. And this is the option that we need. So let me click on that and we can just say parent. So we have added the constraint to parent. Now let me add the constraint to this bottom. So I'm going to say C, that is constraint, and I'm going to type bottom. And here you can see I have 4 options one more time. So in our case, I'm going to add the constraint bottom to the bottom of parent. So for that, I'm going to type bottom as well. And here is my option. So let me click on that and let's say parent. And here is our 2 constraint, constraint top and constraint bottom. Now let's add constraint right to the right of parent. So it's going to be very simple as well. So I hope you might have already guessed this as well. So C for constraint and I'm going to type right and I have 4 options. So I'm going to type right again. And here I'm going to say parent. And we have added the constraint right as well. Now let's add the constraint left to left of parent. So C for constraint and we're going to say left and we have 4 options and we're going to say left as well to the left of parent. I hope you are understanding this concept so far, and if you are having any problem understanding this concept, then do let me know in the comment with the timestamp and I'll be there to help you out. Now let's see another interesting properties of constraint layout. So I'm going to delete these 3 constraints, bottom, right and left constraint. And then it shows some error. It says the view is not constrained horizontally. At runtime it will jump to the left unless you add the horizontal constraint. So this means we always need to provide at least 2 constraints, one for horizontal and one for vertical. So that's why we need to provide at least 1 constraint for horizontal. It can be the left or right. So let's say constraint right to right of parent. Now you can see our error is gone. So similarly, what happens if I remove this top? And this time it says this view is not constrained vertically. At runtime it will jump to the top unless you add the vertical constraint. That is, we need to provide at least 1 constraint for vertical. It can be the top or bottom. So let's add constraint bottom. So to bottom of parent. And our error is gone. So I hope you got the concept. Now let me add the constraint top. and constraint left as well. Constraint left to left of parent. And here's our hello world text at the default position. So this means we have another rule, that is we need to provide at least one constraint for vertical and one constraint for horizontal. And in order to constraint your view horizontally, you can either use left or right. Similarly, if you want to constraint your view vertically, you can either use top or bottom. Alright, now let me go to Design tab and I'm going to drag one bottom below this text view. So like this. So let's ignore that error for now. Let me go to text mode. And here you can see Android Studio has added two properties, absolute X and absolute Y. So without modifying anything in this code, I'm going to run this application and let's see the output first of all. And here is our application, and you can see our bottom is at the left part. But in our design preview, you can see our button is below our text view. So what's causing the error in here? So if you go to activity_main, you can see we have a tools namespace, and this tool namespace is only going to be used in our design tab, not in the real-time device or in our emulator. So whenever you assign the tool namespace, it is only going to be used for design. It is not going to work for our real device. So for example, let me copy this tool, and instead of Android, I'm going to say tools in here. So let's run this application and check the output. And here you can see we don't have text called bottom, but in our design we have the text called bottom. So I hope you understood this tool namespace. So let me undo this. Now as we just saw, in order to align this button below our text view, just by dragging and dropping this button is not going to work. So for that we need to add the constraint to this bottom. So let me remove these two properties. Now let's add some constraint. So I want to add the constraint top to bottom of text view. Okay, so that's our first thing. And in order to do that, we need to add the ID. So let's say ID is going to be, since this is a text view, I'm going to say txt, and let's say hello world. So this is the ID of our text view. So here we're going to say constraint. So I'm going to type C and then top. And here you can see we have four options one more time. And we want to add the constraint top to bottom of hello world program. So we're going to say bottom in here. And then we need to pass the ID. And our ID is going to be text hello world. And here you can see our bottom is below our text view. Now let's add constraint right to right of parent and constraint left to left of parent, so that our text view and bottom aligns together. So here we're going to say constraint right to right of parent and constraint left to left of parent. And here you can see both of them are aligned together. Now let's run our application. And here you can see our design in our emulator is similar to that of design preview. Now let's say we want to add another button below this button. So for that we can copy this button and paste that in here. Now let's change the button 3 as, let's say button minus. And let's change this button ID as well. Let's say button plus. And here we're going to say plus. And here we're going to say minus. And here instead of adding constraint top to button of text hello world, we're going to say button plus. So here we're going to update our ID to button plus. Now let's say we want to align the another button to the left of plus. So for that let me copy this and let's paste that in here. Now instead of minus, let's say button reset. And here we're going to say reset as well. And here's our button. So let me remove all of this constraint. Now we want this button to the left of plus, right? So for that we're going to say constraint left to the right of our button plus. And finally we need to add the constraint top to the bottom of hello world text. So let's do that in here. So constraint top to bottom of our hello world text. And here you can see this plus and reset buttons are now aligned horizontally. So this is all I want to cover in this video. And in the next episode, we're going to add the click functionality in these buttons. So see you in the next episode. Hello guys, in this episode we're going to add click functionality in our buttons. So first of all, let's change the hello world text value to 0. And let's change the ID name as well. So we're going to say txt counter. And I need to modify the ID in here and here as well. And here's our counter and its value is 0. So let me increase the text size first of all. So text size, let's say 20 sp. And let's say text color as black. So has 000. And here is our counter. Now in our application, whenever user clicks on this plus button, we're going to increment this counter. Similarly, when user clicks minus button, we're going to decrement the counter. And we're going to reset our counter to 0 whenever user clicks on reset button. So let's go to main activity. And here we need to declare those views. So let's say private text view. And here we need to give the name. So it can be anything. So for now, I'm just going to say txt counter. And here we're going to declare the 3 buttons. So let's say button and button plus, button minus, and finally our button reset. So we have just declared the view. Now we're going to link this view to our XML component. So in order to do that, let's come in here and we're going to say txt counter is equals to find view by id r.id dot our id name, which is text underscore counter. Similarly for the button plus, it's going to be find view by id r.id dot button plus. Now let's also do the same thing for button minus and button plus. So button minus is equals to find view by id r.id dot button minus. And for button reset, it's gonna be is equals to find view by id r.id dot button reset. So at this point, we have finally linked our XML views to our Java object. Now let's add click functionality to our button plus. So in order to do that, we're going to say button plus dot set OnClickListener, and we're going to type new and then view dot OnClickListener. So just select this option, and Android Studio will going to override this onClick function for us. And here we want to increase the counter, right? Let's declare a variable called counter, and it is going to be of type integer. Here we're going to say text counter dot get text dot toString. So with these two functions, we're going to get the strings present in our text view. And here we have one small error. So we need to change this string value to integer. So in order to do that, click Alt and Enter, or place your mouse to the end of this statement and you will see a red pulp. So just click on that and then select wrap using integer.parseInt. And this function is going to change this string value to the integer. Now here we're going to say counter plus plus. And here we have incremented the counter. Now let's update the value in our text counter text view. So text counter dot set text, and we need to pass counter variable in here. And as we know that this counter is an integer, so we need to change this integer to a string. So let's concatenate this with empty string. Now let's run our application. And here is our application. So let me click on this plus button, and here you can see we have updated the value. So let me click this plus button a couple of times, and here you can see we have incremented the value. Now let's add click functionality to minus. So we're going to say button minus dot set OnClickListener new view dot OnClickListener. And here we're going to do the same process. So let me copy this and paste in here. And instead of plus plus, we're going to say minus minus. Now let's run our application. And here's our application one more time. So let me increment this value. And if I click on this minus, it should decrement the value. And this is how we're going to add the click functionality in our buttons or view. So let's add a simple logic. Whenever this value becomes 0, we don't want to decrement it anymore. So let's go to our main activity. And here we're going to check a small condition. If counter not equal to 0, then only we want to decrement that, right? So let me put that into the curly bracket and let me cut this two line and paste in here. And this is going to solve that issue. Now let's add click functionality in our reset button as well. So button reset dot set OnClickListener and then view dot OnClickListener, or you can simply type OnClickListener, and our Android Studio is smart enough to give the correct option for us. So let's select this option. And here we're going to say text counter dot set text as 0. So this is all we need to do. So let's run our application to check the output. And here's our application. So let me increment this value, and we can decrement this value as well. So once it reaches to 0, it is not going to decrement anymore. So let me click on this button a couple of times, and here you can see it is not decremented to less than 0. So let me increment this value one more time, and if I click on this reset button, and here you can see our counter is now 0 again. And this is all we are going to cover in this video, and in the next part I will show you different methods of handling click listener or click event in Android. So see you in the next episode. Hello my dear wonderful people out there. In this episode I will show you how you can add the same click functionality in our application but with the different approach. First of all, let me comment this previous approach. And in order to add the multi-line comment in Android Studio for Mac users, you're going to do Command Option and then /. And for Windows users, it is going to be Control Shift and /. Now let's see how we can add the click functionality in our application with different approach. So for that, go to activity_main XML. And here we're going to add one attribute called onClick. And we need to give the function name. So let's say plus function. And this is going to be our function name. And you can see it is showing some error. And if you hover on this, it says we need a function called plus function in our main activity. So let's go to our main activity, and here let's create that function. So just come out of this bracket, and we're going to say public and void and our function name, and our function name is this one. So let me copy that and paste in here. And here we need to pass the view. So let's pass that view in here. And this is our function. And this function is going to be called whenever someone clicks on this plus button. Similarly, let's add onClick function in here as well. So we're going to say minus function. And this function name can be anything you want, okay? So there is no restriction at all. And for reset, we're going to say onClick. Let's say reset function. And in order to resolve this to error, let's go to our main activity. And we need to create that function. So let me copy that. And I'm going to paste that twice. And instead of plus function, we need to say minus function. And here we're going to say reset function. Now we can simply copy this operation from our previous approach and let's paste that in here. And for our minus function, here is our operation, right? So let me copy that and paste in here. So let me copy that as well and paste in here. Now let's go and run our application to check the output. And here is our application. So let me click on this plus button, and you can see it has incremented the value. So it has decremented the value. And if I click on this, and you can see our value is now back to 0. And here you can see we are creating the 3 functions for performing 3 different actions. Actually, we can combine all of this function into one function as well. So for that, let's go to activity_main. And here, instead of minus function, let's say operation. And I'm going to copy this function name operation and paste in here and paste in here as well. And as we know, we need to create this function called operation, right? And here let's say public void operation, and this is going to get the parameter as view. And this function called operation is going to be called whenever our user clicks on one of these buttons, plus, reset and minus. So let's go to main activity. And before writing our logic in here, we need to distinguish on which button the user has clicked. So in order to detect that, we're going to say integer, let's say ID, and we're going to say view.getID. And we're going to have a switch case here, and I'm going to pass that ID in here. And here I'm going to have a case. Let's say r.id.button plus, and let's do a break statement in here. And I'm going to create another case, r.id.button minus, and let's say break in here. Finally, I'm going to create another case for button reset as well. Now here I can write the logic for plus. So this is our logic. So I'm going to copy that and paste in here. And for minus, this is our logic. So let me copy that. And finally, for our reset function, so let me copy that and paste in here. And it says integer counter is already declared. So let me pull this counter in here. And by default, I'm going to assign it as 0. And let me remove this. And here also I can remove that. Actually, I need to code that thing in here, right? And now you can see we have combined all of these three methods into a single method call operation. Now let's run our application to verify the output. And here is our application. So let me click on this plus. You can see it is now working for minus and for reset as well. So all of our functionality is working fine. So this is how we can add the click functionality in our views from the XML attributes. And in the next part, I will show you the one more method that you can use to add click functionality in your views. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Hello guys, so let's see another important approach that we can use to handle a click event in our application. So first of all, let's come to the activity_main and let's remove the click operation. Now we don't need that. So here also. And finally, let's remove that onClick from here as well. Now let's go to main activity. And in this approach, we can just say button plus dot set OnClickListener. And let's select this. And here we're going to pass this keyword. And this keyword represents the object of our class called main activity. And currently it is showing some error. So let me click on this red bulb, or you can do Alt and Enter. And I'm going to select this second option called make main activity implement OnClickListener. So let me click on that. And Android Studio will going to open one dialog box saying we need to override this method called onClick. So let's select that and hit OK. And there are two important changes in our main activity.java file. The first one is this function, and the second one is if you go to top, you can see Android Studio has added this line, implement OnClickViewListener. Now whenever user clicks on this button plus, our function called onClick is going to be executed. And here we're going to give a small message for now. Let's say toast.makeText. And here we need to pass the context, and our context is gonna be main activity dot this. As of now, you can remove this main activity and you can simply pass this keyboard in here and then add comma, and here we can write the message. So let's say plus button is clicked, and then add comma one more time, and here we need to write the toast duration. So let's say toast dot, and here you can see we have a two option, length underscore short and length underscore long. So let me select this short, and finally we need to say dot show. Now let's run this application. And here is our application. So let me click on this plus button, and you can see we got the nice message saying plus button is clicked. So that's how we're going to handle the click event with this approach. So if I go to top in here one more time, so let's handle the click event in button minus as well. So button minus dot set OnClickListener, and we need to say this. And finally for button reset as well, let's do the same thing. And whenever user clicks on one of these button, our onClick function is now going to called. And here also we need to distinguish the buttons on which user has clicked, similar to that of this case, right? This case. So let me actually copy that, and instead of toast, so I can simply paste that in here. And instead of view, we're going to say v in here. Now our application is going to work in a similar way. So as of now, let me remove this function. And let me remove these three. And finally, these three as well. Now let's run our application. And here's the application. So I can increment this counter, decrement this counter, and finally I can reset this counter as well. So this is how you can implement the same click event with these 3 approaches. So there are other approaches as well, and we're going to look at them as we go on. And for now, we're going to stick with these 3 approaches only. And you can use any approaches you like, okay? And I will see you in the next episode. In this episode, we will see how we can use the image view in our application. So let me go to Design tab, and I can drag this image view in here. And our Android Studio is going to show this option. So let me select this avatar, and let me uncheck this, and I can select any one of them. So let me select this one and hit OK. And here is our image view. So let me go to text mode now, and let me scroll down, and here is our image view. And I have already talked about this tools properties, right? So let me remove this tools property for now. So I want to add the constraint left. So I'm going to type C and then left to the left of parent. And I'm going to add the constraint right. So first of all, I'm going to type C and then right. And this constraint is going to be to the right of parent. So I'm going to type right again, and let me hit enter. And here I'm going to say parent. So far we have only added the horizontal constraint. So let me add one top constraint as well, that is vertical constraint. So C for constraint, and now let's type top to top of parent. And if I run this application right now, we are not going to see this image because I have used tools namespace in here. That's why this avatar profile picture is only going to be visible in our design editor. So let me run this application to verify this. And here is our application, and you can observe that there is no avatar profile. Now let's go and add a real image. In my desktop, I have prepared one image. So let me copy that image, and let's go to drawable, and I can paste that image in here. So select the drawable instead of version 24 and hit OK. And you need to write all of your resource file into the lowercase, and you can use underscore as well if you want. So let me hit OK for now. And here is our image. Now let me remove this for now, and I can say source, and I need to type @drawable, and here is our image name, Android_studio. And remember one thing, we don't need to add the extension name. And here is our image view, and you can see it is now covering the whole space. So let me change this width as 300 dp and height as 200 dp. And I can say adjust view bound as true. And finally, I can say scale type as FitFX. Now let's run our application. And here is our image. And I forgot to tell you one thing, you need to use image with a smaller size. And if you're going to use the image with larger size, then you will going to get memory allocation error. So as of now, just use the image with a smaller size. Now let's go and add the button to the left of this plus button. Whenever user clicks on that button, we're going to hide and show this image view. So here by default, let's say visibility as gone. And let's change the ID of this image view as IB for image view, and we're going to say, let's say meme. And in our main activity, we're going to get that image view. So private image view, let's say IB meme, and here we need to get that XML file. So IB meme is going to be find view by ID r.id dot or iv_meme. Now let's add one button as well. So I'm going to copy this button_rest, and I'm going to paste that in here. Hide/show, and here also let's say hide_show. Now we need to change the constraint. So instead of saying constraint left to right of button plus, we're going to say constraint right to left of our button plus. And here's our button. Now let's go and get this button in our main activity as well. So let's add comma and button hide show. And here we're going to say button hide show as equal to find view by ID r.id dot button_hide show. Now let's add click listener on this button. So we're going to say button hide show dot set OnClickListener new OnClickListener, and you can select any event handling method that we talked in the previous video. And as of now, I'm going to go with this approach. So whenever someone clicks on this button, we're going to check if IB meme dot let's say get visibility equal dot view dot visible. Then we can say dot set visibility as view dot gone. Otherwise, we're going to say ibmeme dot set visibility as view dot visible. So let's go and run this application now. And here's the application, and by default the visibility of image view is gone. So let me click on this button, and here you can see our image is now visible. So let me click this button one more time, and it is now gone. So this is all we're going to cover in this video, and I will see you in the next episode. Hello my dear wonderful people. In this episode we're going to learn the Listview in Android. Before that, I will show you how you can create the new activity or new screen in case of Android. So first of all, I'm going to right click on this package name and new and then Java class. And here we need to give our activity name. So let's say Listview activity. And then hit OK. And here we need to extend our activity with our app compact activity. And finally, we need to override one method called onCreate. So just type on create, and Android Studio is going to give us the option, and select the option which has only one parameter called bundle. So let me click on that, and here we need to assign our layout. So just type set content view, and we're going to say r.layout, and here we need to write our layout name for Listview activity. Since we don't have XML for Listview activity, let's go to our layout. So just right click on that, go to new, and then select layout resource file. And here let's say activity Listview, and then leave everything in default and hit OK. Now let's go to text mode, and we're going to replace this linear layout with Listview. And in order to format your code, just type Ctrl Alt and L, and Android Studio is going to format the code for us. So since this Listview is not going to have any child, I can simply close that Listview in here. So just add / and then close with angular bracket. And this is all we're going to do in this activity underscore Listview. So let me close this, and here let's pass that layout name. So activity underscore Listview. And it says it cannot resolve symbol activity underscore layout, even though we have that file in here. So it is just a caching problem in Android Studio. You can totally ignore this error. Now let's go to our manifest file, and here we need to register this newly created activity in our Android manifest file. So let me copy this activity part, and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of main activity, we're going to say Listview activity. And in case of main activity, I'm going to change this launcher to default. And whenever you assign the launcher to a particular activity, then it is going to be the first activity or screen that is going to be opened whenever user clicks on the application icon in their phone. And you can remove this view from here. Now let's go to Listview activity, and let's work on Listview. So I'm going to say private Listview, and it's going to be Listview, and here we're going to say Listview is equals to find view by id r.id dot, and we have not given any id to our Listview. So let me go to activity Listview, and here let's give the id name. So id is going to be Listview, and you can assign any id name you wish to. So let me go to Listview activity, and here we're going to say Listview. And this Listview is responsible for showing different options. So let's create that options as well. And in the top, I'm going to say private, let's say array of string, and let's say options, and I'm going to open the curly bracket, and let's close that curly bracket in here. Let me close that panel as well, and here we're going to write the options. So let's write a couple of options, A, B, C, and let's say D. So we're going to write the 4 options as of now, and we're going to modify this option as we go on. And in order to show the Listview, we need one adapter. So let's create one array adapter, and it is going to contain a string. So let's say array adapter and new array adapter, and the first parameter is going to be context. So let's pass it this, and the second parameter is going to be resource, and we're going to use one default resource from Android. So let's say android.r.layout dot simple list item 1. So let me choose this one. And finally, I need to provide the list of options. So here we go. Now let's set this adapter to our Listview. So in order to set that adapter, it's very easy. Listview dot set adapter. And let's pass that array adapter in here. Now let's run our application to check the output. And here's the application, and you can see we have 4 lists in here. So let me actually copy this. And let me add comma in here. I'm going to paste that in here. So let's say 1, say 2, 3, and let's say 4. And if I run this, and here you can see we have the updated list. So if we copy this, and let me paste that in here one more time. And here is our list view, and we can scroll this list view as well. Now let's add a click listener on this list view. So let's go to our list view activity, and I'm going to remove this. I just added this to show the functionality of list view. So let me delete that. And in order to detect the click on list view, we're going to say list view dot set on item click listener. So just click on that and type new, and then type adapter view dot on item click listener. And if you select this option, then our Android Studio is going to override one method called onItemClick for us. And this is the position in which user has clicked. So let's show a toast in here. So just type toast and just click tab, and Android Studio is automatically going to add the template for us. And let's add some message. So our message is going to be, let's say, options array, and let's pass that position in here. And it is going to show us our option name. So let's run this application. And here is the application. Now if I click on this B, you can see we got the toast as B. So if I click on D, we got the option name. So this is all we're going to cover in this episode, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Hello there, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to design a bio application where a user can enter name, phone number, email, and their address with the help of relative layout in Android. So let's go to our Android Studio, and let's create one new activity or a screen. And this time we are not going to use the manual method of creating the activity. Rather, I'm just going to click right in here and go to new, and then I can go to activity, and here I'm going to select the NP activity. And here we can directly keep the activity name. So let's say my bio, and we're going to use the relative layout only. So let's say relative layout. And select this checkbox called generate layout file and hit finish. And here is our activity name, my bio relative layout, and its design. And if you go to Android manifest file, and you can see Android Studio has added the activity for us. So let me close that activity in here like this. So that's how we can create the activity and its layout from the Android Studio. Now let's go to Listview activity, and instead of typing A in here, let's type introduction. And instead of B, let's say my bio app and dash relative layout. And let me actually minimize this, and instead of showing toast in here, I'm going to create a switch statement, and I'm going to pass that position in here. And I'm going to check if position is 0, then we're going to launch our main activity. So in order to navigate from one activity or one screen to another screen in case of Android, we're going to say intent, and let's create that intent in here. And the first parameter is going to be the current activity. Since we are in the Listview activity, we're going to say Listview activity dot this. And the second parameter is going to be the class of our destination activity. Since we want to go from Listview to main activity, it's going to be main activity dot class in here. And let's say start activity, and we're going to pass that intent in here. And this is how we're going to navigate from one screen to another screen. So similarly, let's check the case number 1. So if the position is 1, then we're going to go from our Listview activity to our my bio relative activity. So I'm going to copy this and paste in here. And instead of main activity, we're going to say my bio relative activity. Okay, now let me remove these two options as well. And it is causing the error. So let me remove this intent from here and I'm going to put that in here. So let's intent in here and I can remove the intent class from here. And in order to format your code, just press Ctrl Alt and L. Now let's go and run this application to check whether this is working or not. And here's the application, and if I click on introduction, you can see we are navigate to the another screen and I can do the normal operation as we did in the previous video. Now let me go back, and if I click on my bio relative layout, it is going to open the new screen. Now let's go and design our bio application with the help of relative layout only. So come to the activity my bio relative layout. I can remove this constraint layout with the relative layout because we're going to learn relative layout in this video. So I can remove this as well. So just type angular bracket and then type /, and Android Studio is going to close that view for us. Now let's design our application. So first of all, I'm going to add a text view, and its width gonna be match parent and height gonna be wrap content. So whenever you type match parent, it is going to occupy the whole space. So let me actually make this bigger. And whenever you add wrap content, it is only going to occupy the space needed for it. Now let's add text to this text view. So just type text in here and hit enter. And here let's say enter your data. And let's change the text color as well. So we're going to say black. So #0, 0 and 0. And let's increment the text size. Let's say 18 SP. And we're going to align this text in center. So just type text alignment and then type center. And let's say we want to give the margin top, and I'm going to add the margin top as 16 dp. And here's our text view so far. And below this text view, I'm going to add the edit text, and its width gonna be match parent and height gonna be wrap content as well. So let me close this view in here. In order to close this view, just add /, and Android Studio is automatically going to close that for us. And let's add hint in here. So we're going to say enter your name, and we want to align our edit text below our text view. So for that, we're going to give the ID for this text view first of all. So just type ID and then @+ID /, and here we're going to say txt for text view, and let's say label, and in our edit text we're going to say layout below, and we're going to say text label, and here is our edit text below our text view. Now I'm going to add the margin as 16 dp, and here is our text view so far. So let's give the ID as well, and we're going to say EDT for edit text, and let's say name. So here also let's do the same thing, edit text and match parent and wrap content, and hint is gonna be enter your phone number, and we're going to say input type as phone, and here also we can say input type as person name, and this is going to show the appropriate keyboard for user, and this is going to improve the user experience. So let me add the margin as 16 dp, and here is our edit text, and we want this edit text below our edit name, and we're going to say layout below edit name. Here let's keep the ID as well, and we're going to say edit phone. So I can simply copy this edit text and paste in here and here as well. So instead of edit phone, I'm going to say email, and here I'm going to say address. So instead of enter your phone number, I'm going to say enter your address. I'm going to say enter your email, and we're going to change the input type as text email address, and here also instead of saying phone, we're going to say text postal address, or simply you can add text in here. And we want this edit text below our edit email, right? So let me copy this ID in here and I'm going to paste that in here. Similarly, I want this edit text below our phone, so let me copy that and paste that in here. And finally, I'm going to add one button. So button, wrap content and wrap content. So let me close this view, and I'm going to add the text as enter, and I'm going to say all caps as false, and let's say center horizontal as true. And here's a button so far. Now I want this button to appear below our address, so we can say layout below, and then I'm going to say edit address. So you can actually notice one thing here. Whenever we're going to add the ID, then we're going to add plus symbol as well. But whenever we're going to reference this ID, then we don't need to add plus symbol in here, but we can add that plus symbol as well, and it is not going to cause any error. And let me undo that. So we have finally designed our bio application. So let me run this application. And here's our beautiful application. So let me go to my bio relative layout, and here is a design with the help of relative layout only. So if I click on this phone number, you can see we are getting the numbers only. Now if I click on this email, and you can see we got the different keyboard with @ symbol as well for email. Now if I click on this name, now you can see there is no @ symbol, and these properties are now coming up from input type attribute. And this is all we're going to cover in this video, and I will see you in the next episode. And in the next video, we're going to design the same layout but with the help of linear layout. So see you in the next part. Hello guys, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to design the same application but with the help of linear layout instead of relative layout. But before that, let's add a scroll view in our previous application so that even if you are running this application in a small device, our view doesn't cut off. So instead of relative layout, let's say scroll view here. So this is going to be our parent layout, and make sure that you have a scroll view in here. And after that, we can add the relative layout now. So relative layout and match parent and wrap content. So let me close that relative layout by angular bracket, and Android Studio is going to close that for us. So let me cut this relative layout from here, and I'm going to paste that in here. And here is our previous layout. Now our application is now capable of running in a smaller size device as well without cutting off the views. Now let's go and design this same view with the help of linear layout this time. So let's go to package, right click on that, go to new, and then select the activity, and then choose empty activity. And we're going to give our activity name as my bio. Let's say linear layout, and select this generate layout option and hit finish. And here is our activity called my bio linear layout and its layout. First of all, let's go to our Listview activity, and here we're going to add this another option. So first of all, let me add comma in here, and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of relative layout, we're going to say linear layout. Now whenever user clicks on our linear layout option, that is our case 2, we're going to go from Listview activity to our my bio linear layout. So select this second option here. Alright, now we don't need this file, and we don't need this main activity as well. And let me close this relative layout as well. Now instead of constraint layout, let's switch this to the linear layout. And I'm going to add one property called orientation as vertical, and it is going to align our all the child view vertically. So let me go to my bio relative layout, and I can copy all of these views up to here, and I'm going to paste that in here. And this is our layout so far. Now here, let me add margin as 16 dp. And we don't need this layout below because it is only going to be used for relative layout. And let me remove this as well. And finally this one and this one as well. Now we can remove the center horizontal as well. Now in order to align this button to the center, we're going to say layout gravity is equals to center. And you can see it is now aligned to the center. And yeah, we have actually prepared the same layout with the help of linear layout. So the thing is, you need to remember the orientation. So let's see what happens if I change this to horizontal. Now all the child view are aligned horizontally. So if I change this to wrap content, as you can see we got the edit text in here. So let me change this to wrap content, and you can see we got the another edit view in here. So this is how linear layout works. So let me undo these changes, and instead of horizontal I'm going to say vertical. So let's go and run this application to verify. And here's our application, and if I click on this linear layout, as you can see we got the same output. And I hope you got the general idea of linear layout, and we're going to look at different options of linear layout as we go on. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Welcome back. In this episode we're going to design this simple login form with the help of Constraint layout. So let's go and design this form. Now right click on your package, go to new and go to activity and select empty activity. And let's say login form activity. And make sure you have checked this box and hit finish. And here's our login form activity and its layout. Now let me go to Listview activity and I'm going to add that option in here. So let's say login form and let's say Constraint layout. And I'm going to add one more case. So let me copy that and paste in here. Instead of 2, it's going to be 3. And instead of my bio linear layout, we're going to say login form activity. And this is all we need to do. So let me minimize this, and we don't need this Listview activity anymore. Since we are only going to design this form, we also don't need this activity. And here is our activity login form. Now let's go to design tab and right click on this rectangular screen and go to helpers, and let's choose the add horizontal guideline. And here is our horizontal guideline. So let me actually open the component tree here, and here you can see we got the icon with upper triangle. Now if I click on this, its position is going to be changed, and if I click one more time, and you can see it is now changed to percentage. So let me open this attribute panel as well, and I'm going to select this guideline here. And in our layout constraint, instead of 0.03, I'm going to say 0.1, and this represents to 10%. So if I hit enter, and you can see we got the 10% margin from the top. Let's change this ID as well. Since it is a horizontal guideline, I'm going to say HG, which stands for horizontal guideline, and I'm going to add 10 in here, and let me hit enter. Now our ID name is HG10. And these guidelines will not be visible in our application, but we can use these kind of guidelines to align our views the way we want. So let's add another horizontal guideline in here. So I'm just going to right click on this screen and again helpers and horizontal guideline. And here is my guideline. So I'm just going to click on this icon, and I'm going to click this icon one more time, and it is changed to percentage. So I'm just going to drag this, and I'm going to release this horizontal guideline at 90%. And I'm going to select this guideline here, and I'm going to change the ID of this guideline. So since this is a horizontal guideline, one more time, I'm going to say HG, and this time I'm going to say 90, and then just hit enter. And now its ID is HG90. Now let's go and add two vertical guidelines from here and here. So for that, I'm going to click on helpers and add vertical guideline. And we got the arrow. Let me click on that, and let me click on this one more time, and now it is changed to percentage. Now I'm going to drag this percentage up to 10%. So let's select this guideline, and this time I'm going to say VG, which stands for vertical guideline, and I'm going to say 10 in here. So just hit enter, and our ID name is VG10. So let's go and add one more vertical guideline. And here is our guideline. So let me click on that, and let me click on this one more time. And now I'm going to drag this to the 90%, like this. And let's release that guideline in here. Now select this guideline in here, and let's change this guideline ID as well. So this is a vertical guideline, and I'm going to say 90 in here, and hit enter. So you can think all of these guidelines as the virtual boundaries on which we are going to add all the views. Now let's go to text mode, and here you can see we have the guidelines in here. Now let's go to top, and now let's add our text view, and our width going to be, let's say, match parent. Actually we're going to change this width, but for now let's keep it match parent, and our height going to be wrap content. And let me close this text view, and let's assign the ID. So we're going to say ID as txt, let's say label. So let's say text color is going to be black, and text size going to be, let's say, 28 sp. And let's add a text, and I'm going to say login form, and let's say text style as bold. And in order to format this, just type Ctrl Alt and L, and it says there is no view constraint. So let's go and add some constraint. Now we want our text view to appear below our horizontal guideline 10. So for that we're going to say constraint, that is C, and we're going to say top to bottom of our horizontal guideline 10. And here you can see it is now appearing bottom of our horizontal guideline. Now we're going to align this text view to our vertical guideline 10. So we can say constraint left to right of our vertical guideline 10. And here you can see our view is not aligned to vertical guideline. But if you hover on these circles, you can see our vertical guideline 10 is also highlighted. The reason is that we need to change the width from match parent to 0dp. So previously our width was match parent. So our text view was trying to occupy all the space from its parent. Now whenever you add 0dp, in case of constraint layout, it is going to have different meaning. So let me show you. If you go to Design tab and just click on this text view. Now let me remove this 0dp from here and just click on this drop down menu. So here you can see we have another option called match constraint, and if I select this match constraint, let's see what happens. You can see it is automatically assigning the value as 0dp. So in case of constraint layout, whenever you add 0dp, its value is gonna be match constraint. So you need to remember this thing. Now if you remember, we have only added the constraint to this vertical 10 and this horizontal 10. Now let's go and add the constraint to right hand side as well. So I'm going to say C, which stands for constraint and right to the right of vertical constraint 90. So I'm going to type right here as well, and we need to say vertical guideline 90. Since it is just a straight line, in this particular case you can say to the left of vertical guideline 90 as well. So in this particular case you can either go for left or right, it is not going to matter. And here also you can either go for left or right. And the reason is that this vertical guideline doesn't have any width. Now let's add our edit text. And our width gonna be 0dp, that is match constraint. And our height is gonna be wrap content. So let's go and add the ID. So we're gonna say edit text, that is EDT. And let's say email. And let's give the margin top as 32dp. And we're going to say int as enter your email. Now we need to add the constraint to this edit text, and we want this edit text to appear below our login form. So for that we're going to say constraint top to bottom of login form, and our ID is text label, and here you can see our edit text is below our login form text. Now we want this edit text to appear after this vertical guideline 10. So we're going to say constraint left to the left of our vertical guideline 10. And as I've already mentioned, you can either go for to right of as well. And let's go and add the constraint to right as well. So constraint right to the right of or to the left of our vertical guideline 90. And here's our nice little edit text. Now let's go and copy this edit text, and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of edit email, we're going to say edit password. By the way, let me add input type as well. So it's going to be text email address. And in this case, the input type is going to be password. And in our hint, we're going to say enter your password. And here's our edit text password on the top of edit text email. And we want to add this edit text below our edit email. So instead of text label, we're going to say edit text email in here, and we don't need to change this to constraint. And here is our design so far. Now let me show you the final result. So let's go and add these two text view, no account yet and sign up. So I'm going to create the text view in here. So text view, and the width gonna be 0dp, that is match constraint, and our height gonna be wrap content. So let's keep the ID as txt label no account yet, and let's write our text. And here we're going to say no account yet, and here is our text view. Let's change the text size as well, and we're going to say 20 sp, And let's change the text color as well. So we're going to say black. Now we want to align this text below our edit password. So it's going to be constraint top to bottom of our edit password. And finally we want to align this text view after this vertical guideline 10. So constraint left to the left of vertical guideline 10. So let's add some margin as well. So I'm going to say margin, let's say 32 dp. And here's our option. By the way, let me actually remove this text color. It is not looking that much nice. And we're going to add another text view saying sign up. Let's go and do that in here. So text view and 0 dp, and height going to be wrap content. Let me close that text view in here, and we're going to say id txt label sign up, and let's add our text sign up, and we're going to change the text size as 20 sp, and let's change the text color as well. Let's say 64b5, and let's say f6, and I'm going to change the text style as well. So let's say bold, and here's our text view, and we want to align this text view to the right of no account yet. So let's say constraint left to the right of our no account yet. So txt label no account yet, and here you can see we have a small arrow here mentioning that our sign up text view is at the right of no account yet text view. Now we want this text view in here. So for that we're going to say constraint top to the top of our no account yet, and you can see we have a top constraint to the top of no account yet. Now let's go and add the constraint button to the bottom of no account yet. So constraint bottom to bottom of no account yet, and you can see these two text view are now horizontally locked. And finally let's add one login button. So button and 0 dp, and height gonna be wrap content. So let's assign the id as button login. So let's say text as login, and we're going to say text color as white, and we're going to add the background to this button similar to this one. So let me copy that and paste in here. So don't forget to add the hash there, and here is our button progress so far. Let's add the margin top as 32 dp, and we want to align this button below our no account yet or sign up. So constraint top to bottom of, you can either type text label no account yet or sign up, because both of them are equally aligned horizontally. So for instance we're going to go with no account yet, and there is our button, and we want this button to appear at the center. So constraint left to the left of our vertical guideline 10, and constraint right to the right of vertical guideline 90. And you can see our button is taking the entire space. That's because we have set the width as 0 dp, and it stands for match constraint. Since we have added the constraint to left and right, so that's why it is going to take the entire space. So instead of 0 dp, if you add wrap content, you can see it is going to take the small space, and that's what we want. Now let me increase this size. Now login form is going to work exactly in every possible device. So for example, we have selected the Pixel. Now let's go to the tablet one, and here you can see our form is looking exactly the same that we have designed. So let's go and switch this tablet mode to, let's say, TB, and here also we are getting the desired output. That's because we are dealing with percentage in constraint layout, and that's the beauty of this constraint layout. So let me switch back to Pixel. So let's go and run this application, and here is our application. So let me go to login form constraint layout, and here you can see we got the login form. And if you are running in this smaller device, then you can add a scroll view in here. So instead of constraint layout, so let me say scroll view, and make sure you have a scroll view in here. And finally I'm going to add constraint layout in here, and I'm going to put that in here. And finally in our scroll view, I'm going to say fill viewport as true, and this is going to take the entire space, and our design is ready to go. And that's how we're going to use the constraint layout to support multiple devices. And this constraint layout plays significant role in improving the performance of application, because in case of constraint layout, you can significantly reduce the nested view hierarchy compared to that of relative layout and linear layout. And that's it for today's video, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Hello guys, in this episode we're going to create a dice application. Whenever user clicks on this button, we're going to show the random dice number. So let's build this. So right click on your package name and go to new and select the activity and choose the empty activity. And let's say dice activity and select this option and hit finish. And here's our dice activity and its layout. Now let's go to Listview activity, and here let's add the dice option. So dice app, and we need to add the keys as well. So let me copy that and I'm going to paste that in here. So instead of 3, let's say 4, and here we're going to say dice activity. Now we don't need this Listview activity anymore. So here instead of constraint layout, let's add relative layout, and we're going to add the image view. So image view, let's say wrap content, and height going to be wrap content as well. So we can close this image view like this, and let's give the image view as placeholder, and you can give this ID name as anything you want. And we need to add the source image, and in my desktop I have already prepared some images, and these are some of the images, and I'm going to provide these images to you. So let me copy that, and let's go to project, and inside our drawable I'm going to paste that image in here, and select the drawable and hit OK, and then hit OK one more time. And here are those images. Now let's go to activity dice, and here let's add the default source image. So I'm going to add 1, and here's our image. So I want this image to appear at the center, so I'm going to say center in parent as true, and here's our image. Now let's go and add one button. So button, and wrap content, and finally let's give the ID as well. So we're going to say button roll dice, and here's our button. So let's keep the text as well. We're going to say roll dice, and we want this button below our image view. So we're going to use layout below, and we're going to say IV placeholder, and we want to align this button to center horizontal. So we have one more property called center horizontal, and let's say true. And I'm going to add margin top. So for now we can say 16 dp, and here's our button and image view. Now let's go to dice activity. Let me close that, and we need to get the image view and button. So private image view, let's say IV placeholder, and we need to get the button as well. So button roll dice, and we're going to say IV placeholder equals to find view by ID order ID dot or IV underscore placeholder, and for button we're going to say find view by ID order ID dot button roll dice. And whenever user clicks on this button, we want to perform the operation. So button roll dice dot set on click listener, and just type new on click listener, and inside this function we're going to create a random number. And in order to generate the random number, we have a class called random. So let's create the object of random, and we can make use of this random object to generate the random number for us. So random dot next int, and we need to give the boundary. So whenever I type 6, this random object is going to generate the random number from 0 to 5. And as we know that in our dice application, we have only number from 1 to 6. So we're going to add +1 in here. Now we're going to check if random number is equals to 1. Then we're going to set the image view as 1, right? So set image resources, we're going to say r.drawable dot 1. Else if random number is equals to 2, then we're going to say IV placeholder set image resource as r.rival.to. And we're going to do same thing for rest of the number as well. So let me do that quickly in order to save time. And here's all the case. Now let's run this application. And here's our little application, and if I click on this dice app, and here's the application. So let me click on this button, and you can see we got the different number. So we can do that as many times we want. And in this video we learn how to set the image view from Java, and I will see you in the next episode. Hello there. In this episode we're going to create the SMS application where a user can type phone number and message, and we're going to send that SMS. So let's go to our package. Right click on that, go to new activity and select the empty activity. So let's go and name this activity as SMS activity, and this is gonna be our layout, and hit finish. And here's our SMS activity and its layout. Now let's go to Listview activity and let's add that SMS in here as well. So SMS App, and we need to update the case as well. So let's copy that. And we're going to make this as 5, and instead of dice application we're going to say SMS activity. Now let's close this activity and let's go to text mode in our activity SMS, and instead of constraint layout let's use linear layout. And as we already know that we need to assign the orientation for linear layout, and our orientation is going to be vertical in this case. And let's set the gravity as center because we want to align our child view to the center. So here let's create one edit text. So it's going to be match parent and wrap content. So let's give it the ID as edit phone, and its input type is going to be phone. And let's give the hint as enter phone number, and let's add the margin left as 32 dp and margin right as 32 dp as well. Now let me copy this and I'm going to paste that in here. So instead of phone we're going to say message, and let me remove this to individual margin. Rather we're going to add the margin to all 4 direction, and instead of enter phone number we're going to say enter your message. And our input type is going to be text multi-line, and we're going to add button in here. So button, wrap content and wrap content. So let's set text as send SMS, and we need to give the ID. So let's say button underscore send. So in our SMS activity let's get that edit text and buttons. So private edit text and edit text phone and edit text message, and let's get that button as well. So button and send SMS. Now let's link this Java object to our XML views. So edit phone is equals to find view by ID or ID dot edit phone, and for our edit message we're going to say find view by ID or ID dot edit message. And finally button send SMS is equals to order ID dot button underscore send. And whenever user clicks on this button we want to send the SMS. But before that we need to go to manifest file, and we need to write our permission here. So our user's permission is going to be send underscore SMS. Now we don't need this Android manifest file anymore, so let me close that. Now let's add the click listener on this send SMS button. So set on click listener, new on click listener. So first of all we need to check whether user has granted the permission or not. So it's going to be int permission, and we're going to say context compact dot check self permission, and it's going to be context, and our second parameter is going to be the permission. So our permission is going to be manifest file dot permission dot send SMS, and it says first argument is wrong. So instead of this keyboard we're going to say SMS activity dot this. And that's because whenever you write this, it represents the object of this implementation. But in this case, we need the object of our main activity, that is SMS activity. So we're going to say SMS activity dot this. And here let's say if permission equal package manager dot permission granted, then we can send SMS. Otherwise, we need to ask the permission to users at runtime. So let's show the dialog to users asking for permission. So activity compact dot request permission, and we need to pass the context SMS activity dot this, and then we need to pass the array list of permission, which is of type string. So we can say new string and open the curly bracket, and here we need to mention our permission. So manifest file dot permission dot send SMS, and just add comma, and we need to pass one request code. It can be anything you want. So for example, let's say 111, and we're going to need this request code later. Now after this onCreate method, we're going to override one more method called onRequestPermissionResult, onRequestPermissionsResult, and I'm going to have a switch case in here, and let's pass this request code variable, this one, and we're going to have a case called 111. That's because we have used the request code as 111. So if you use the request code as, let's say, 5, then we're going to have 5 in here. Now we're going to check if grant results 0. So we are writing the 0 because we are only asking for one permission. Okay, equal package manager dot permission grant, then we can send SMS. Otherwise, we're going to show a simple toast message to user saying we need SMS permission. And finally, let's add the break statement. And in our default case, we're going to write this super method. So let me cut that and paste in here. And here I'm going to call a function called send SMS, and we don't have that function, right? So in order to create that function, Alt and Enter, and then select the options which says create method send SMS. And here is our function called send SMS. And from here we're going to send the actual SMS. So SMS manager is equals to SMS manager dot get default, and it's going to be SMS manager dot send text message, and the first parameter is going to be the phone number. So we're going to say edit phone dot get text dot toString dot trim, and this trim function is going to remove the white space from our string. And the second parameter is going to be the source address. So we're going to pass null by default, and our third parameter is going to be the actual message. So it is going to be edit text message dot get text toString, and we're going to do trim here as well. And we don't want the pending intent, so we're going to say null, and we don't want the delivery intent as well. So let's pass null here as well. So this is our function called send text message. Now here we can say toast and message sent. Now let me copy this function, and I'm going to paste that in here as well. Now let's go and run this application to check the output. And here's our application. So let's go to SMS app, and let's type some number, and let's say hi, how are you, and let's hit send, and our application is asking for the permission. So let's select allow option, and it says message sent. Now let me go to SMS, and here's our SMS, and we don't want to update that. And here you can see we have sent the message hi, how are you to this number. So this is how you can send the SMS programmatically, and I will see you in the next part. Hello guys, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to build a simple currency converter application which is going to convert the dollar into the sterling pound. So let me insert some dollar currency, and if I click on convert, and it's going to convert this dollar to pound, and we're going to design this layout in Constraint layout. So let's go and do this. So right click on the package, go to new, and then activity, and select the empty activity. So let's say currency converter activity, and this is going to be our layout. So hit finish, and here is a Java file and its layout. Now let's go to Listview activity and let's add that option. So we're going to say currency converter, and in our case, let's say case number 6, and instead of SMS activity we're going to say currency converter dot class. Now let's close this Listview activity and let me minimize this panel as well. Now let's go and add a text view here, and let's see, it's going to be match constraint, that is 0dp, and our height going to be wrap content. And let's give the ID as well, and we can say txt, let's say label and underscore converter. Now let's add our text view, and we can say $to pound converter, and let's add margin top as 32 dp, and we're going to say text align as center. Now let's add some constraint. I want to add the constraint top to top of parent, so C for constraint and then top and to the top of our parent. Now let's say constraint left to the left of parent, and constraint right to the right of parent. And I'm going to add the constraint bottom to the bottom of parent as well. And here is our text $to pound converter. Now let's go and increase the text size as well, and we're going to say 20 sp. And finally we're going to add the constraint vertical bias. So just type C for constraint, V for vertical, and type B for bias. And here's your constraint vertical bias, and I want to add the 20% vertical bias, so I'm going to say 0.2. and here is our text view. And whenever you add constraint vertical bias, then our text view is going to appear from the 20% of the available space from top. Now let's go and add edit text in here, and we're going to say 0dp again, that is match constraint, and our height gonna be wrap content. And let's say edit text as $, and our hint is gonna be enter $, and we want this edit text to appear below our text view, so constraint top to the bottom of text label converter, and let's say constraint left to the left of parent, and constraint right to the right of our parent. Now let's add some margin top as well. We're going to say 32 dp, and here's our edit text. So instead of writing width as 0dp, let's say 250 dp. Now we need a button, so button, let's say wrap content, and we're going to say button convert, and we want this button below our edit text, so constraint top to bottom of edit $, and let's say constraint left to the left of parent, and constraint right to the right of parent. And let's add the text as convert, and let's add some margin top as well, let's say 32 dp, and we're going to say text all caps as false. And finally let's add another text view to show our result. Let's say width gonna be 250 dp, and our height gonna be wrap content, and we're going to add the ID as txt underscore result, and let's add the default text as results will be here, and we want this text be below our button, so constraint top to bottom of button convert, and let's say constraint left to the left of parent, and constraint right to the right of parent. And we're going to add margin top as 32 dp, and let's add the text alignment as center, and this is our final layout. Now let's go to our currency converter activity, and let's get that edit text button and our result text view. So private button and button convert, and we're going to say edit text. It's going to be $, and we're going to say text view, and it's going to be txt result. So let's connect this Java object to our XML. So button convert is equals to find view by id, our id dot button underscore convert, and for $, find view by id, our id dot edit $. And finally, let's say text result is equals to find view by id, our id dot text result. Now let's add the click listener on this button. Set on click listener, and this time I'm going to pass this keyboard in here. Now just write Alt and Enter, or click on this red button and select this second option and hit OK. And our activity is now implementing OnClickListener, and its method is in here. And here let's declare a variable called $, and it's gonna be edit $.get text .toString, and then we need to convert this string to our double. So Alt and Enter, and select the option which says wrap using double.parseDouble. And here is the input value from our user. And here we're going to declare another variable. Let's say double converted pound. So it's going to be $, multiplied by value of pound for each $. So just go to Google, and so just type $1 to pound, and you will get the current rate. So it's currently 0.77. So let me go to Android Studio, and we're going to say 0 into 77. And this is our converted value. Now we finally need to set this value to our result. So it's going to be text result dot set text, and we need to pass this converted pound value in here. Since this is a double value, we need to pass this into the string. So let me concatenate this with empty string. Now before performing any operation, let's go and check a simple condition. If edit text $.getText .toString.length, we're going to check the length of a string first of all. If it is greater than 0, then only we are going to perform our operation. Otherwise, we're going to say toast enter value, and I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to put that inside the if block. Now let's go and run our application. And here is our application. So let me go to currency converter, and without entering any value, if I click on this button, it says enter value. Now let me add 1, and if I hit convert, you can see this is a converted pound. So let me add some random number, and if I hit convert, and here is our converted pound value. So let me go to Google, and if I type 122, and here is our output. So let me open the emulator, and we got the 93 and 93 here as well, and we got the slight difference in decimal position, but that's okay for now, and I will see you in the next episode. Hello there, welcome back. In this episode we will learn how to pass data from one activity to another activity, that is from one screen to another screen. So let's right click on our package, let's go to activity, and let's select empty activity, and let's give the name as activity A, and this is going to be our layout. So let me hit finish, and here is our activity A and its layout. Now let's go and create another activity. So activity and choose empty activity, and this time we're going to say activity underscore B, and this is going to be our layout. So hit finish, and here's the activity and its layout. Now let's go to Listview activity, and we're going to add a new option. Let's say passing data between screen or activity, and in our option we're going to say, so this is going to be our case 7, and we want to go to activity A first of all. Now let's go to activity A XML, and instead of constraint layout, let's say relative layout. Now let's give the background to this activity, and I'm going to say 7E57 and then C2, and you can select any background color you want. And here I'm going to say text view, let's say match parent and wrap content, and I'm going to keep the ID as, let's say txt activity underscore a, and let's add the text as activity slash screen a, and let's increase the text size, let's say 25 sp, and let's change the text color as well, and let's say white, and we're going to say center in parent as true. And here's our text view. So let's add text alignment as center, and finally let's add text style as bold, and below this I'm going to add one button. So button, wrap content and wrap content. So let's give the ID name as button A, and I want this button to appear below our text view. So we're going to say layout below as txt activity A, and let's say margin top as 16 dp, and we're going to give the text as send data to activity B, and let's say center horizontal as true, and it is now aligned center horizontally. So this is our design for activity A. Now let me copy this. Now let's go to activity underscore B XML, and I'm going to paste that in here, and I'm going to change the color. So let's say DAE9A5, and this is the color that we're going to use, and I'm going to remove the color white, and here I'm going to say button underscore B, and here I'm going to say activity underscore B, and instead of screen A we're going to say screen B, and I need to copy that and paste in here. Now instead of send data to B, we're going to say go to Listview. So what we want to do is whenever user clicks on this button, we want to send the data to this activity, and whenever user click on this button, we want to go to the Listview. Let me minimize this panel, and I can close this Listview activity as well. Now let's go to activity A, and here let's get that button. So it's gonna be button, and button A, it's gonna be find view by ID or ID dot button underscore A, and we're going to add the click listener to this. So button A dot set on click listener new on click listener. And as we have already saw, in order to go from one activity to another activity, we're going to use intent. So intent equals to new intent, and the first parameter is going to be our current activity. So in this case it is going to be activity underscore A dot this, and our second parameter is going to be the class of destination activity. Since we want to go from activity A to activity B, we're going to say activity B dot class, and we just need to start our activity. So let's pass that intent in here. So with these two lines, we're going to move from one activity to another activity. Now in order to pass the data from this activity to another activity, we need to add some extras in our intent. So let's say intent dot put extra, and here we need to provide the key. So let's say our key is name, and write comma, and after then we need to provide the actual value. So let's say John Cena. Let's provide another value, put extra, and we're going to say is, and let's say 42. And remember, this is a string value and this is an integer value, and we need this information whenever we want to retrieve the data in our second activity. And finally we need to pass another extra. So let's say our key name is message, and let's pass the actual message in here. So let's say you can't see me, and this is all we need to do to pass our data from one activity to another activity. Now let's go to activity B and let's get those data. And our first value is name, right? So let's say name value, and we're going to say get intent dot get string extra, because the data type for name is string in this case. Finally we need to write the key name in here, and this name is actually coming up from here. Let's get another value. So it's string, it's gonna be age value, and get intent dot get int extra this time, and we need to provide the key name. So it is age in this case, and in case of primitive data type we need to provide the default value as well. So let's pass 0 in here. And I made a small mistake, it needs to be integer. And finally, let's get that message value as well. And it's going to be get intent dot get string extra, and our key name is message. Since string is not a primitive data type, we are not going to pass any default value. So let's go and print this value in our logcat. So in order to print your value in logcat, just type log and then type d. And here we need to provide one tag. It can be anything you like. For the time being, let's say checking value. And we need to pass out data. So let's say name value is value, and finally our message. So let me run this application. And here is our application. So if I click on this button, and we are now at the screen A. And if I click on this button, we are now at the screen B. Now if I go to logcat, and make sure you have selected the current emulator or your real device and our application package name, and select the verbose in here. Now let me copy that, and you can see we got that value in our logcat. John Cena, age is 44, and the message as you can't see me. So that's how we're going to pass the data from one screen to another screen. Now let's go and display this data in our text view called activity_b. So for that we need the text view. So it's gonna be text view, let's say txt_b, and it's gonna be find view by id order id dot, and if I go to activity b, this is our id name. So let me copy that and I can paste that in here. Now we can say text b dot set text, and here we can say name colon. Let's put that value in here. So name value, and I'm going to write that is in new line. So for that you need to do / and then n for new line. And let's say is, and our is gonna be is value. Now let's add the message in new line as well, and we can say message colon, let's say message value in here. So let me go to activity B, and let's add the OnClickListener on this button as well. And whenever someone clicks on this button, we want to go to the list view, right? So button find view by id order id dot button underscore b. So let's remove this log data, and we're going to say button b dot set on click listener, and we're going to say intent, new intent, and from activity B we want to go to the list view activity, and we're going to say start activity, and we just need to pass that intent in here. Now let's go and run this application. And here's the application. So let me click on this passing data between screens, and let me click on this button, and here you can see we have passed the data from screen A to screen B. And if I click on this button, we will go back to our list view activity. So let me click on that, and we are back to the list view. So this is how you can pass the data from one screen to another screen. Now let's go to my bio linear layout. Now let's do one task. Whenever user enters all the data in these fields and clicks on this button, then we will pass all the data from this activity to another activity called profile activity. So let's do this. And in our project you can see there is no profile activity. So let's go and create that profile activity. So activity, and choose the empty activity, and let's call it profile activity, and hit finish. And here's our profile activity and its layout. Now let me go to resource inside layout, and let's open the file called activity my bio linear layout. And I'm going to copy all of this code, and let's go to our activity_profile, and I'm going to paste that in here. So this is going to be our layout for profile activity. Now let me close the other files which we don't need here. So I don't need that, and I don't need this activity A as well. Now let's open our Java file called my bio linear layout. Now in our my bio linear activity, we need to get all of these edit text and buttons in here. So let's go and do that. So it's going to be private edit text, and let's say edit text phone, edit text name, edit text email, and finally edit text address. And let's get that button as well. So button is going to be button send. Now let's get these views in our Java object. So edit text phone is gonna be find view id or id.edit underscore phone. Similarly, let's do it for edit text name, id.edit text underscore name. By the way, let me close this. And for edit email, it's gonna be find view id r.id.edit email. Now whenever user clicks on this button send, we want to send the data to profile activity. So set OnClickListener, new OnClickListener, and let's create our intent. So new intent, and we want to go from my bio linear activity to profile activity dot class. And let's start our activity. And as we just saw, we need to pass the data from this intent object. So intent dot put extra, and we need to give the key name in here. So let's say name key, and then we need to provide the actual data. So it's gonna be edit name dot get text to a string. So let's do the same thing for our phone number. So phone key edit text phone dot get text dot to a string. Similarly for email, email key edit text email dot get text to a string. And finally let's do it for address as well. So put extra, so address key, and we're going to say edit address dot get text to a string. So we have passed the data from my bio linear layout to our profile activity. So let's go and get this data in our profile activity. But before going into the profile activity, let me copy this, and I'm going to paste that in here. And let me also copy this, and I'm going to paste that in here. So let's get those values in here. So our name is going to be get intent dot get string extra, and our key name, it is going to be name key in this case. So let's say email get intent dot get string extra, and email in here. Similarly for phone, get intent dot get string extra and phone. Finally let's say address, get intent dot get string extra and our address key. Actually I need to say email key and phone key in here because we have added the key name as phone key and email key. So let me copy that and paste that in here. And for email key as well, I'm going to do the same thing. So finally let's say edit phone dot set text, and we're going to say phone in here. And for address, let's say set text address, and for name, and finally for our email as well. And this is all we need to do. So let's add one click listener on this button as well. And whenever user clicks on this button, we want to go from profile activity to Listview activity. So start activity, new intent, and profile activity dot this to Listview activity. So instead of writing 2 lines of code, I did in 1 line. Now let's run our application. And here's our application. So let me go to my bio linear layout, and our application is crashed. So let's go and see what went wrong. So in order to check that, let's go to logcat, and let me remove this filter, and I need to choose error in here. Just click on this blue line, and it says set OnClickListener on null object reference. So this means this button is not initialized. So let me go to activity my bio linear layout, and let's keep the ID in here. So let's say button underscore send, and I'm going to copy this ID. Let's go to in here, and I'm going to paste that in here. And this is going to solve our error. Since we have just copied this design code in our activity profile, we need to make the same changes as well. Otherwise we will get the same error. So button underscore send, and this time it should work. So let's give it a try. And here is our application. So let's go to linear layout and let's enter our name, so our phone number, and let's give the email address, and let's give the address. And if I hit enter, you can see we got those data, but we are not actually getting the address, right? So something is wrong. So let's go to my linear layout, and this is our key name. So I think I misspelled here, so I need to write key in here. So let me copy that and paste that in here just to be in safe side. So let me run this application one more time, and here's our application. So let me hit enter, and this time we got the data in our profile activity. So I hope you got the whole concept of passing the data from one activity to another activity, and I will see you in the next episode. Hello guys, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to create fully functional calculator application. And in this calculator, you can perform all sort of operation. Alright, so let's go and build this calculator application. So let's go to our package, right click on that, go to new, and then go to activity and select the empty activity. And let's name our activity as a calculator activity. And select this checkbox and hit finish. And this is our Java class and its layout. Now let me go to Listview activity, and let's add the option for calculator. Calculator, let's say linear layout as well, because we're going to use linear layout in this calculator. And in our case, let me add that calculator activity in here. So calculator activity, and instead of 7 we're going to say 8. And we don't need this Listview activity anymore, so let me close that and let me minimize this panel. So let me open the activity underscore calculator, and instead of constraint layout we're going to say linear layout here. So linear layout, and our orientation is going to be vertical in this case. So let's say weight sum as 22. So I have assigned 22 in here. That means our screen is divided into 22 different equal parts from top to bottom, because I have set the orientation as vertical. Alright, so that's the meaning of that weight sum. And we're going to add text view here, and let's say match parent, and height gonna be wrap content. And let's assign the ID, and here we're going to display our result or input. So you can think of this like as a screen as well. So let's get the ID as txt result. Let's assign the weight as 6. And once I add layout weight as 6, then this text view is going to occupy the 6 number of parts out of this 22 parts. Now let's say gravity as bottom and end. And once I add this, our text view is going to appear at this part, bottom and end. So let me show you. If I add text as, let's say, testing, here you can see our text view is appeared in here. So for now I'm just going to remove that. Now let's add text size as 35 sp, and we're going to give the background. So let's give the background as EBE6E6, and we're going to say padding bottom as 32 dp, and let's say padding right as 32 dp as well. And just for the testing purpose, let's add tools and text as, let's say, 0. And as I have already talked about this tool namespace, it is only going to appear at design time, not in the real device. Now let's add another linear layout, and its width gonna be match parent and height gonna be wrap content. And this time I'm going to set the orientation as horizontal, and I'm going to assign the weight as 4. Since I have used 4 and 6 in here, we have used 10 parts out of 22 parts. So we have 12 parts remaining in our layout. So just remember this thing. And inside this linear layout, I'm going to add button. So let's say button, and I'm going to give the width as 0 dp, and I have added the 0 dp as width because I'm going to control the width of this button with another properties, and we will see that shortly. Height gonna be match parent, and let's keep the ID as button 1. And in our linear layout, I'm going to add weight sum as 4. And in our button, I'm going to say weight as 1. And whenever we add weight sum as 4, then this linear layout is going to split in 4 different equal parts horizontally, because we have set the orientation as horizontal. And whenever I add the weight as 1, then this button is only going to occupy 1 part out of 4 part. Okay, so that's the important thing. So let's add the text in this button, and we're going to say 1. Let's add the background as well, and we're going to say @color and /, and then we need to write the name of our color. So let's say number color, and you can see it is now giving us the error. That's because we don't have this color, right? So let me copy that. Now let's go to project. Inside our resource folder, let's go to values. In our colors.xml, let's add the color name. So color, it's gonna be name, and let's paste that name in here. And here we need to provide the actual value for this color. So let's say our color is gonna be 66BB6A, and let's declare another color. Let's say symbol color, and we're going to assign the value of this color as 7E57C and then 2. So this is going to be background color for symbol, and this is going to be background color for our numbers. So let's go to activity calculator, and we can actually close this color XML. So let me minimize this panel as well, and let's say the text color as white, and we're going to change the text size, and we're going to say text style as bold. And finally, let's give the margin as 1 dp. And this is our button so far. So let me actually copy this button, and I'm going to paste that 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. And instead of button 1, I'm going to say button 2, and here 3. And finally, I'm going to say button division, that is div. Now let me go to this linear layout, and I'm going to copy this linear layout, and I'm going to paste that 3 times as well, 1, 2, and 3. And here's our buttons. So let me open this second linear layout, and instead of button 1 here, I'm going to say button 4, and let's change this text as well, so button 4. And here we're going to say button 5, so let's change this text as button 5 as well. So it's going to be button 6, so and text going to be 6 as well. And this is going to be button minus, and let's add minus symbol in here, and we're going to change the color as symbol color for this minus. Similarly, let me click on this button 1, so let's change the text as 2, and here 3, and here I'm going to add divide. Now let's click on this button of third row, and instead of button 1, I'm going to say button 7, and let's say 7, and we're going to say 8 here, say it as well, and we're going to say 9 and 9 as well. And instead of button division, we're going to say button multiply, and let's add asterisk in here, and we're going to say symbol color for this asterisk. Similarly, let me click on this / that is division, and I'm going to change this color as symbol color. Now let me click on this first button of fourth row, and I'm going to say button clear, and let's type CLR here. Here we're going to say button 0, and we're going to add the text as 0, and we're going to say button equal, and our background color going to be symbol color. So let's add equal in here as well. And finally, this is going to be button plus, so let's add the plus symbol and our symbol color. And instead of adding margin top is equals to 1, we need to say margin equals to 1. So let me go to edit and then find and select the replace. So here I'm simply going to type margin and equal to and 1 dp, and I'm going to replace all, and our application is now looking good. So I just replaced the margin top with margin for every button. Okay, so let me close this now. Now let's go and run our application. And here's the application. So let me click on this, and we got the output. Now let's go and work on the Java part to make it functional. So let's come to calculator activity, and here we need to declare all of those buttons. So it's going to be private button, button 2, button 3, and I'm going to do that up to 9 including 0. And these are all the number buttons. So let's go and create the buttons for our symbol as well. Finally, let's declare our text view as well. So text view is gonna be txt result, and we need to assign all of these views to our XML component. So we're going to do find view by ID. So button 0, find view by ID, order ID dot button 0, and I'm going to do the same thing for rest of the buttons as well. Alright, so by this point I have assigned my Java object to my XML views. Now let me go to button 1, and I'm going to assign one attribute called onClick, and we're going to say number operation, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that in 2, 3, inside our 4, 5, button 6, button 7, button 8, button 9, and in our button 0 as well. So Ctrl Alt L to format. And as we know that we need to create the function called number operation in our main activity. So let me copy this, and here let's create that function. So public void and our function name, and inside this we need to pass our view, and this function is going to be called whenever user clicks on numeric buttons. So I'm going to say button here, say button, and I'm going to cast this view as buttons. So Alt Enter and select the first option, cast to Android.widget.button. Since this function is only going to be called whenever someone clicks on numeric buttons, we can actually cast this view to the buttons. Now we're going to say text result dot set text, and we're going to say text result dot get text to string plus button dot get text dot to string. So what we did here is that we take the value from text result, and then we take the value from our button. For example, if the user has clicked the number 6, then this function is going to return the 6, and it is going to append that value to the previous value of text result. And finally we have set the text result again. So let me actually run this application, and you will get the better idea of what we are doing here. So here is our application. So if I click 5, then our text result value is 5. Now if I click 6, it is going to be 56. You can see they are appending together. And if I click 3, it is now appending to that 4. I hope you are getting the point up to here. So let's move forward. Now let's go to top, and I'm going to declare two variables. First thing is integer first input, let's say 0, and our second input is gonna be 0 as well. And I'm going to declare some boolean variables, and I'm going to say is add, is subtract, is multiply, is division. And let's come in here, and whenever user clicks on button plus, then we're going to say set OnClickListener, new OnClickListener, and inside this we're going to say if text result dot get text dot toString dot length not equal to 0, then we're going to say first input is equals to text result dot get text to string, and then we need to change the string to integer, and then type Alt and Enter, and then select the option wrap using integer dot value of. So this is gonna be our first input, and we're going to say is add as true, and finally we're going to say text result dot set text as null. Now let me copy this, and then we're going to do the same thing for minus, division, and multiply as well. So let me paste that here, and instead of plus we're going to say minus, and here we're going to say is subtraction as true. Similarly, let me paste that one more time, and instead of plus we're going to say multiply, and we're going to say is multiply as true. So let me paste that one more time, and here we're going to say button divide, and is divide gonna be true. And finally, for button clear, we're going to say button clear, and first input is going to be 0. Second input is going to be 0 as well. And let me remove this. And then we're going to say set text as empty string. And we don't need to check this condition here. And finally, we need to add the listener to our button equal. So we're going to say button equal dot set OnClickListener new OnClickListener. And we're going to check if is add equals to true, or is subtract is true, or is multiply or is division is true. Then we're going to say second input is equals to text result dot get text dot to string, and then we need to cast this string to integer. So just click Alt and Enter and select the third option called integer dot value of. And after this if statement, we're going to check another if statement, is add equals to true. Then we're going to say text result dot set text, and it's going to be first input plus second input. And then we need to convert this value to a string. And we're going to say is add equals to false. Now let me copy this, and I'm going to paste that for subtraction, multiply, and for division as well. And here I'm going to say is subtract is true, and here is subtract. Let me copy that, and I'm going to paste that here. Is multiply as false, and let me copy this is division, and I'm going to paste that here and paste that here as well. So instead of plus here, I'm going to say divide, and here I'm going to say asterisk, and I'm going to say minus in here. But for division, we need to change this to double, right? So let's say double, and we're going to say result value is equals to first input divided by second input. And let me remove that, and we're going to say string dot format, and we want up to 2 decimal numbers. So I'm just going to say percentage dot 2 and f, and I'm going to pass the result value in here. And this is all we need to do to make our calculator functional. So let's run this application to check the output. And here's the application. So let me go to calculator. So let me click 5 into 5 and let me hit equal. You can see we got the output. Now I'm going to hit clear to clear that screen. So let's say 10 minus 6, and we got the 4. So this means our calculator is now fully functional. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Hello guys. In this episode, we're going to achieve the same design of our calculator, but with the help of constraint layout only. So let's go and design this. So first of all, right click on your package, go to new and select activity, and then choose empty activity. And here we're going to say calculator 2. And this is going to be our layout, and hit finish. And here is our calculator and its layout. Now let me go to Listview activity, and let's add that option as well. So we're going to say calculator constraint layout, and in our option we're going to say case 9 and calculator 2.class. So let's close this Listview activity now, and let me close this panel as well. So I'm going to add the vertical guideline first of all. So just type guideline, and its height gonna be wrap content and width gonna be wrap content as well. And here's a guideline, and by default it is horizontal. So let's make this as vertical. So for that we're gonna say orientation as vertical. And here's our vertical guideline. And I'm going to add constraint guideline percentage as 25. So I'm going to say 0.25. And let's give the ID as vertical guideline, that is VG and 25. And I'm going to copy this and paste in here and here. So let me format this, and instead of 25 I'm going to say 50, and here let me remove this 2, and here is our second vertical guideline. And finally I'm going to say vertical guideline 75, and let me remove this 2 and I'm going to add 7, that is 75%. And here is our 3 vertical guidelines. Now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add one horizontal guideline, and I'm going to say horizontal guideline 30, and our orientation is going to be horizontal, and instead of 75 we're going to say 30 or 3, and here is our horizontal guideline. Now let me copy this and I'm going to paste that 3 times, so 1, 2 and 3, and here's our design so far. So let's go and add text view for showing the results. So it's going to be text view, let's say width going to be 0 dp, that is match constraint, and height going to be 0 dp as well, and we're going to give the ID as text underscore result, and let's say text as 0 and text size as 35 sp, and we're going to define the gravity as bottom and end. So let's say background as has EBE6E6. So I'm going to add the constant top to top of parent, and I'm going to add the constant bottom to top of our horizontal guideline 30, and finally I'm going to say constant left to the left of parent and constant right to the right of parent. And here's our text view. So let me add some padding. I'm going to say 32 dp, and as of now this text view is covering the 30% of our screen, and we are left with 70% of our screen. So let me show you something, and as you can see we need to add 4 rows, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we are only left with 70% of the screen and we need to add 4 rows. So let me open the calculator and I'm going to say 70 divided by 4. So our each row is going to take the space of 17.5%. So let me copy this guideline and paste in here. And instead of 30 now I'm going to say 30 plus 17.5, which is equal to 47.5. So that's why we're going to say 475 in here. And here's our horizontal guideline. Now let's change the ID as well. So I'm going to say horizontal guideline 47, and instead of writing .5 I'm going to say 47_5. Okay, now let me copy this one more time and paste in here. And let me open the calculator one more time. So 47.5 plus 17.5, and we got the 65. So let's change the percentage as 65 here, and let's rename the ID as horizontal 65. And here is another horizontal guideline. So let me copy this and paste in here one more time. So let's go to calculator, and 65 plus our 17.5, and we got the 82.5. Let me remove the 65 and we're going to say 82.5, and here we're going to say 85_5, and here is our fourth horizontal line. So let me format this first of all, Ctrl Alt and L. So let me open our final output. So we're going to add button 1 here, and button 4, 7 and clear. Similarly we're going to say 3, 6, 9 and equal. So let's go and build these individual buttons now. So first of all we're going to design all the buttons for first column and second column, third and fourth. So let me comment here, let's say first column, and let's go and build the buttons. So our button width gonna be 0 dp, that is match constraint, and our height gonna be 0 dp as well. So let's keep the ID as button 1, and let's say text as 1, and let's add the background color as number color, and we got this number color in our previous video. So let me do Ctrl plus click And here is a color for number color and for symbol color. So let me close this now. And so far there is no button, right? That's because of 0dp and 0dp. Now let's say text size gonna be 35 sp and text color gonna be white and text style gonna be bold. And we're going to add the margin as 1dp. And finally we're going to add the constraint now. So we're going to say constraint top to the bottom of horizontal guideline 30 and constraint left to the left of parent and constraint right to the left of our vertical guideline 25. And finally we're going to say constraint bottom to the top of our horizontal guideline 47_5. And here is our button. Now let me format this first of all. And make sure your constraint is in the same order as that of mine. So first of all it should be bottom top, left to left, right to left and top to bottom. Because we're going to do a lot of copy and paste in this video. So if you maintain the order, then you will going to save a lot of times as well as there is less chance of getting error. Now let me copy this and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of button 1, I'm going to say button 4 and here also button 4. And in our button top constraint, instead of 45.7, we're going to say horizontal constraint 65. And in our top bottom constraint, I'm going to say horizontal constraint 47.5. And here is our number 4. So let me copy this and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of 4, let's say 7 and 7 here as well. And in our button top, instead of horizontal 65, I'm going to say horizontal 85.5. So 16 plus 17.5, it needs to be 82.5. So I added the wrong ID here. So let me change this to horizontal 82.5. And finally in our constant top button, I'm going to say horizontal constraint 65. Now let me copy this and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of button 7, I'm going to say button clear. And let's write CLR, that is clear, in here. And in case of constraint bottom to top of, I'm going to say constraint bottom to bottom of. And we're going to say parent in here. And finally we're going to say constraint top to bottom of horizontal guideline 82.5. And now let's write the second column. So we're going to say second column. And for that I'm going to copy this up to here and let me paste that in here. And instead of button 1, we're going to say button 2 and text 2 in here. And in this column we're going to change these two constraints only, constraint left to left of and constraint right to left of. So in our constraint left to left of, vertical constraint 25, and in our constraint right to the left of, vertical constraint 50. And let me copy this too. And I'm going to paste that in here, here and here as well. And instead of button clear, let's say 0 and 0 here as well. And in case of button 7, I'm going to say button 8 and button 8 here as well. And finally I'm going to say button 5 and 5 here as well. And this is our second column. Now let me add third column. And I'm going to copy these buttons up to here. And let's paste that in here. So let's go to here. And instead of button 2, we're going to say button 3. So let's say button 3. And instead of 5, we're going to say 6. And here also 6. And in case of button 8, we're going to say button 9. And in case of button 0, we're going to say button equal. and let's say equal here as well. And I forgot to update this value to 9. And instead of number color, I'm going to say symbol color. So let's go to button 3. So let me click on that. And in this column also, we need to update these two constraints. Constraint left to left of and the constraint right to the left of. So in this case, we're going to say vertical constraint 50 and vertical constraint 75. And here is our button 3. So let me copy this. And in our button 6, let me replace this with our new constraint. So we are not seeing any result. So let me go to design tab. And you can see our design is now updated. So let me go to text mode one more time. And here's our 6. So the problem was due to the caching only. So let me go to button 9 and I can replace these two constraint. And similarly for our button, I can replace these two with our new constraint. And here's our third column as well. Now let's go and add the final column, that is fourth column. And I'm going to copy these 4 buttons and I'm going to paste that in here. And instead of button 3, I'm going to say button divide. And let's add the divide symbol. And in our fourth column as well, we're going to change this to constraint. So instead of constraint left to left, we're going to say constraint left to right of. And we're going to say vertical constraint 75. And finally, instead of constraint right to left of, we're going to say constraint right to right of. And we're going to say parent in here. And here is our forward slash. Now let me go and change the background color as symbol color. And I'm going to copy this to constraint now. And I can paste that in here, here, and here as well. And instead of equal, let's say plus. And plus here as well. And let's change the number color as symbol color. And instead of 9, we can just say multiply. And instead of 6, we can say minus. And here let's say minus as well. And finally, let's change the background color as symbol color. And this is our final output. So let's go and run this application. And here's the application. So let me go to calculator constraint layout. And you can see we got the same layout. And you can add the calculation function if you want as that of previous video. And I will see you in the next episode. Hello everyone, welcome back. And in this section we are going to learn about the networking library called Retrofit. And this is our final application. And here we can type anything. And whenever we hit send button, we're going to retrieve the related data from the Wikipedia. So let me search for Roman reigns. And let's hit send. And we got the API data from Wikipedia. So let's go and learn about the Retrofit library in this section. Now come to your Android Studio, go to File, and create the new Android Studio project. So I have already created the new Android Studio project, and here is my activity XML and its layout. So just pause this video and create the new project first of all. So once you create your project, replace this constraint layout with a linear layout. And let's remove this text view. And here we're going to say edit text, match parent, wrap content. And let's give the ID as input. And below this we're going to add one button. Let's say wrap content and wrap content. And its ID gonna be send. And after this button, let's add one progress bar. So wrap content, and let's give the ID as progress bar. And we need to add the orientation as vertical to our linear layout. And here is our design so far. So let's add the text to our button. Let's say send, and let's add the hint to our edit text. So let's say enter your search query. And after this progress bar, we're going to add the list view. So match parent and match parent. And let's give the ID as list view. And for our progress bar, let's say gravity as center, and we want to hide the progress bar initially. And for our edit text, let's say padding as 8 dp and margin as 8 dp. And this is gonna be our final layout. Now let's go to our main activity and let's get those components in here. Alright, so our design part is ready. Now let's go to Google and then search for Retrofit GitHub and then click on the first link. And Retrofit is an open source networking library built by Square. So if you scroll a bit, you will see the download option, and we just need to copy this dependency. And let's go to our studio. Let's open the builder gradle and let's say implementation, and let's paste that in here. And we need to convert our JSON data to Java object. So for that we need one more parsing library. So let's go to website and let's go to retrofit configuration. And here you can see we have lots of converters for converting our XML or JSON data to Java object. So for now we're going to use JSON converter. So let me copy that and let's go to studio and I'm going to paste that in here. And make sure you have same dependency in here. And in order to debug our networking data, we're going to add one more dependency, and let me paste that in here. And make sure to add this login interceptor in your dependency as well. And this is all we need to do in this file. So let's hit sync. Now we can close this file. And before signing off from this video, I want you to go to the Google and type Postman download. And just go to postman.com/download and download this Postman depending upon your system. And I have already downloaded this Postman, so I'm not going to download this. So basically this Postman is going to be very helpful whenever you are testing your API. So let me show you what it looks like. So here is my Postman, and this is the API that we are going to work in this section. So just pause this video and write this in your notepad. So whenever I add params like action, format, list and SR search, and let me hit enter. And as you can see, we will get the list of data, and we're going to parse this data in our section. So before going into the next video, download this Postman and write this API in your search box. Make sure you have selected get in here, and then add this action, format, SR search and its value inside the query params under your params tab. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Hello everyone, I hope you are doing great. And in this episode we're going to prepare the Retrofit client. So in our package, let's go to new and Java class, and let's create a file name called API client. And here is our class, and inside this I'm going to create one private static final string, and let's call it base URL. And inside this base URL we need to add the base URL of our API. So let me go to Postman and let me uncheck this query, and this is going to be our base path. So I'm going to copy that and let's paste that in here. And make sure you have added the / in there as well, otherwise our application is going to crash. So let's create another variable, private static retrofit, and let's initialize this with null. And now we're going to create a public static function which is going to return the instance of retrofit, and let's call it get API client. And here we're going to say http login interceptor is equals to new http login interceptor. And here we're going to check if our application is running in the debug version, then only we're going to print our network log, otherwise it is going to be security issue. So let's say http login interceptor dot label, and we're going to say http login interceptor dot label dot body. So let's go to the definition of body. Let's see what it says. And it says it is going to print request and response both along with their respective headers and bodies. And if you add the headers instead of body, then it is only going to print the headers of our request and response. And if we print none, then it is not going to print any log. And if our application is not running in the debug version, then we're going to say none in here. And then we're going to say OK HTTP client. Let's call it client. New OK HTTP client dot builder. And then we're going to say add interceptor. And here we're going to add our HTTP interceptor. And let's build this OK HTTP client. And then we're going to check if our retrofit instance is null. Then only we're going to create our retrofit instance. Otherwise, we're going to directly return our retrofit instance like this. So whenever our retrofit is null, that is for the first time, we want to create the retrofit instance like this. So new retrofit builder dot base URL. This is where we're going to write our base URL dot client, and let's pass our OK HTTP client in here. And then we're going to add the converter factory. And remember, we have used the JSON converter, right? So here we're going to say JSON converter dot create. And finally, let's build this retrofit. So this is all we need to do in this API client. So we don't need this anymore. So let me close this. Now let's go to our package and we're going to create one interface. And let's call it API service. And then we're going to write a function called search wiki. And it is going to take a special parameter called @query map. And let's say map string. And let's call it params. And we need to annotate this function with get method. And inside this get method, we need to pass the path of our URL. So let's go to our Postman. And this is going to be our remaining path. So let me copy that. And let's paste that in here. And here we're getting some error, but let's leave it for now. So just go to the Android Studio setting. And then go to plugins. And then in your marketplace, search for RoboPojo generator. And then install that plugin and restart your Android Studio. So I have already installed this plugin, so I'm not going to do that. So once you install and restart your Android Studio, come to this point. Okay, now let me go to Postman. And I'm going to click this button to copy this in my clipboard. Now let's go to Android Studio. And I'm going to create one package. Let's call it model. And inside this model, right click on that, go to new. And then at the bottom, you will see an option called generate Pojo from JSON from our recently installed plugin. And I'm going to paste that in here. So this is our JSON response. And here select Java and then select JSON because we are going to use the JSON plugin. And let's name this class name as search response. And then hit generate. And if you open the model, you can see we have a list of files. So let me open one of them. And here you can see our JSON data is now automatically represented to a Java instance. So you can see all of those classes like this. And as you can see, every JSON object is mapped to the Java object. So this is a nice plugin to have instead of writing all of them manually. Now let's go to API service. And this function is going to return this special type of data. And it's going to be call. And inside this angular bracket, I'm going to say search response. And make sure you have imported this class correctly. And this is all we're going to cover in this part. So catch you guys in the next part. Hello guys, welcome back. And in this episode, we're going to handle the button OnClickListener and the fetching of data from the network. So inside our main activity, let's say send button.setOnClickListener. So first of all, let's get the query in our edit text. So it's going to be edit text dot get text dot toString. And here we're going to check if query is empty. Then we're going to say enter your query first. And we're going to return from this function. And if there is something in this edit text, then we're going to call our API. So first of all, let's show the progress bar. So progress bar dot set visibility as visible, and from here we're going to call our API. So here we need to say API service. API service is equals to API client dot get API client dot create, and then we need to say API service dot class. And let's create one map because our API needs those map. So here I'm going to say string, let's call it params new hash map. And let me open the Postman now. And here you can see we need to pass action, format, list and search as a key and their respective value. So let's do that in here. So let me open this application side by side. And let's call it params dot put, and we need to say action, and our action is going to be always constant, so this query, and our second key is going to be format, and it is also going to be always constant, which is JSON in this case. And let's say params dot put, and it's going to be list, and here we need to say search, and the value of this source key is going to be different, right? So params dot put, let's say sr search, which is our query in this case, and this query is now dynamically coming up from our edit text. Now we don't need to reference this anymore, so let me go to full screen, and here we're going to say call, and let's say source response. And if you remember, this is the same data type that we are returning from our API call. So that's why we're writing that in here. So let's call it call. And it's going to be API service dot source wiki. And let's pass that hash map in here. And finally, we need to say call dot enqueue. And then write new and then type callback. And you will see an auto suggestion from Retrofit. Make sure to select this one. So double click on this option, and our Android Studio is going to override the methods for us. And this method is going to be called whenever our API service doesn't return the data. So let's say could not retrieve data. And if our API call is successful, then we will get the data inside our onResponse method. And let's say progress bar dot set visibility as gone. And let me copy this, and let's paste that in here as well. So in both cases, we're going to hide that progress bar. And from here, we need to update our Listview. And we're going to update our Listview in the next part. But before that, let's go to our Android manifest file. And make sure you have added the internet permission. And inside our application, make sure to add the uses clear text traffic as true. And let's run this application. And if you get the error like invoke customs are only supported starting Android O, just go to your builder Gradle and then add these options in here. And make sure to add these 4 lines. So hit sync. And let's run this application. And here is our application. So let me type Nikola Tesla. And let's hit send. And here's our progress bar, and we got our data. So let's go to our logcat and then change this error to verbose, and here just type OK HTTP, and our OK HTTP logger is going to log that data in our logcat. And here you can see we made the GET request to this API and we got the 200, and here is our list of data. And in the next episode we're going to see what kind of data we are retrieving and how we can add those data in our list view. So catch you guys in the next one. Hello guys, welcome back. And in our previous video we faced the data in our logcat. So let me go to Postman, and if I hit send, and we got the same response in formatted way. So let's see what it has. So first of all, we have the 3 JSON object: batch complete, continue and query. And we are not interested in batch complete and continue, so let's forget about that. And inside our JSON query object, we have the search info and search. And we are not going to make use of this source info as well. We are only interested in this source object. And as you can see, we have the JSON object called title. So we're going to make use of this title to show this in our list view. Okay, so let's do that. So come to the main activity, and this is where we need to parse those data, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to create the array list of a string, and let's call it results, and it's gonna be new array list. And I'm also going to create the array list of sorts item, and this class was generated from our plugin. And here let's call it sorts items, and instead of new array list, we're going to say response dot body dot. So let's go to Postman one more time. So our required data is inside our query, right? So I'm going to say body dot get query, and let's say dot source, and it says incompatible type. So I'm going to make this array list as list only. Alright, now we're going to parse this source list. So it's going to be source item, let's say yes, and let's pass this source item in here. So inside this for loop, we're going to say results dot add yes dot get title, because we are only interested in title. So once we completed that, we're going to say array adapter, and it's going to be of type string, and let's say new array adapter, and we need to pass the context, and we need to pass our layout. So layout is going to be Android dot r dot layout dot simple list item underscore 1, and we need to pass our array list, which is result in this case. So finally we can say listview dot set adapter, and let's pass that array adapter in here. And this is all we need to do. So let's run this application. And here's our application. So let me search for Nikola Tesla, and let's hit send. And here's our data from our Wikipedia API. So this is how you can use Retrofit library to perform the networking tasks in Android. So see you guys in the next one. Hello guys, welcome back. And in this section, we're going to build this portfolio application where you can write about yourself, your experience, the number of projects you have done, your happy clients, as well as the list of services that you provide. And in our second tab, you can add the list of projects that you have done or for the companies you have worked for. And in our third tab, we're going to write our contact details. So let's go and build this application in this section. And come to the Android Studio, and then go to File, New, and then create the new project from here. And I have already created the new project, so I'm not going to do that in here. And once you create your project, come to your colors.xml, and instead of default color, we're going to use this color in this application. So make these changes in your colors.xml file. Now let me close this, and then open the build.gradle. And inside our build.gradle file, we're going to add this dependency for our application. So this first two dependency is about navigation component, and we need this second dependency for our recycle view and cart view, and this is our image library for loading the images. So write these dependencies in your app label builder file and hit sync. And once your build is successful, go to activity_main, and let's replace this text view with button navigation view. So let me minimize this. And our width gonna be match parent and height gonna be wrap content. So let's give it the ID as navigation, and we're going to say constraint start to the start of parent, and we're going to say constraint bottom to the bottom of parent, and then we're going to say constraint end to the end of parent. And let's set the background color as Android attribute window background. And above this, we're going to create one fragment, and we're going to say height as 0 dp, that is match constraint, and height going to be match constraint as well. And then we're going to specify the attribute called name, and we're going to say Android X dot navigation dot fragment dot nav host fragment. And make sure you have typed this exactly, otherwise it is not gonna work. So let me format this, and I'm going to assign the ID as, let's say, fragment, and let's keep the constraint bottom to the top of parent and constraint right to the right of parent, and then we're going to say constraint left to the left of parent as well, and finally let's say constraint top to the top of parent. Now let's go to our resource folder, and we're going to create the new Android resource directory, and let's select the navigation in here. And inside this package we're going to create the new navigation resource file, and let's call this file name as app navigation graph. Okay, so let's go to our design tab, and here's our empty board. So let's go to our Java class, and here let's create another package called Fragment. And inside these fragments, let's go and create our 3 fragments. So let's keep the name of this fragment as fragment home, and uncheck this box and hit finish. Similarly, let's go and create another fragment, and I'm going to call this fragment as fragment projects, and uncheck this option and hit finish. And finally, let's go and create last fragment called fragment contact. So fragment contact. Alright, now let's go to our app navigation graph, and let's add those fragments in here. And we didn't get our fragment as option, so let me close this project and let's reopen this. And here's our Android Studio. So let me click on this button, and this time we got our fragments. So let me click on this home fragment, and let's add our fragment project, and finally our fragment contact as well. And here is our 3 fragments. And make sure there is a home icon at the top of fragment home. Now let's go to our resource folder, and right click on that, go to new and select the Android resource directory, and let's select the menu in here and hit OK. And inside this menu package we're going to create the menu for our bottom navigation view. So let's call it bottom navigation menu and hit OK. And for our menu we need some icons, so let's go to resource and then vector assets. So let's select an icon called home, and let's name this as icon underscore home and hit next. And let's get the icon for our project as well. And now let's search a suitable icon, and I'm going to select this icon called phone Android, and let's change this to icon underscore project and hit next and finish. Now let's get our final icon as well. So here I'm going to say contact, and let me select this icon and let's call it icon underscore contact, and then hit next and finish. Now come to the bottom navigation menu, and here we're going to say item, and let's keep the ID as fragment home, and let's keep the title as home, and let's keep the icon as icon underscore home. So let me format this, and I'm going to copy this and paste that in here and here, and instead of fragment home let's say fragment project, and here we're going to say icon underscore project, and here we're going to say fragment contact, say icon underscore contact. And let me go to this icon, and this icon is in white colors. So first of all I'm going to format this, and let's change this white color to black color. So let me close this, let's go to icon underscore home, and let's change this color to black as well. And finally for our contact icon, let's make this black as well. Alright, so let me close this now. Now let's go to the activity underscore main, and in our button navigation view we're going to say menu as button navigation menu. Now let's open the preview here, and here's our layout so far. And inside our fragment I'm going to say app nav graph @navigation/app navigation graph, and I'm going to add one more parameter called app default nav host as true. And this is our layout for activity underscore main. Now let's go to our layout and let's open the activity underscore home, and I named this fragment as fragment underscore home 2. So let me refactor that to fragment underscore home. So I think I need to refactor in my Java class as well. Okay, we have the correct name, so we don't need to refactor that. Now let's go to coding section, and here instead of saying hello blank fragment, let's say home fragment, and I'm going to say gravity as center. So let me copy this text view, and let's open the projects, and I'm going to replace that in here, and let's say projects fragment. And for our contact as well, let's do the same thing. So this is our basic layout so far. Now let's go to our main activity, and here let's get that button navigation view. So button navigation view is equals to find view by id r.id dot our button navigation view id, so which is navigation in this case. And we're going to say nav controller is equals to navigation dot, and let's pass our activity, and here we need to pass the id of our fragment, and our id is fragment in this case. So let me quickly verify that, and here is our fragment id. And we need to say navigation UI dot set up with navigation controller, and here we need to pass our button navigation view and our nav controller. And let's run this application, and here's your application, and our design is not visible. So let's go to our Android Studio. So let's go to activity underscore main, and here is our constraint, and here is our navigation view. Okay, so let me change this parent to navigation, and let's also go to app navigation graph. So let me copy that, and let's go to button navigation menu, and I'm going to paste that in here. That's because our id needs to be same, otherwise it is not going to work. So let's go to fragment projects. So let's copy that id, and I'm going to paste that in here. Similarly for our fragment contact, let's copy and paste that in here. Alright, so let's give it a try. And here's your application, and you can see we are loading the home fragment as default. Now let's go to projects, and here's our project fragment. Now let's go to contacts, and here's our contact fragment, and let me change this to contact fragment. So let's go to fragment contact, and let's change this to contact. And this is all we're going to do in this episode, and in the next episode we're going to design our fragment home. So see you there. And in this lecture we're going to design this topmost part of our layout. And in my desktop I have a folder called portfolio, and here I have some images, and I'm going to copy these images. Now let's go to Android Studio, and I'm going to paste them in my resource drivable folder, and I'm going to provide this folder as a resource file to you. Now come to the fragment underscore home, and let's replace this frame layout with the scroll view, because we want to have scrolling functionality in our application. So let me remove this text view, and inside this I'm going to add the constraint layout. So throughout this section we're going to make use of constraint layout only. So let's say match parent, and our height gonna be wrap content. Now let's go and partition this screen vertically into 3 different parts. So for that I'm going to use the guideline, and it's gonna be wrap content, and let's add the orientation as vertical. And I'm going to add constraint guide percentage as 0.33, that is 33%. And here you can see the blue dot in our screen. So let's add another vertical constraint. And here I'm going to say 66%. And here's our second vertical guideline. Now let's assign the ID as VG, that is vertical guideline, and let's say 66. And here we're going to say ID is equals to vertical guideline 33. Now I'm going to add the two horizontal guidelines. First at the 30% and second at the 97%. So let me copy this. And I'm going to paste that here twice. And here it should be horizontal and horizontal as well. So let's say 30%. And here we're going to say 97%. And here I'm going to say horizontal guideline 97. And here I'm going to say horizontal guideline 30. And here let's say view. And we're going to say 0 dp and height as 0 dp as well. So we're going to design our height and width based upon the constraints. So that's why we're adding the match constraint or 0 dp in here. And let's assign the ID as view background. And here let's add the constraint. So I'm going to say constraint bottom to bottom of horizontal guideline 30. And let's also keep the background as color primary. And let's say constraint right to the right of parent. And constraint top to the top of parent. And we're going to say constraint left to the left of parent. And let's say orientation as vertical. And our design is not visible as of now, but let's keep on adding our widgets. And once all the constraints are matched, then our design will be visible. So let's say card view, and let's keep the width as 100 dp and height as 100 dp as well. And the reason we are going to add the card view is that we're going to make our image circular, and we are not going to use any third-party library just to make our image circular. Okay, so we're going to achieve that functionality with the help of card view. So I'm going to say card corner radius as 50 dp, and as you can see our card view is now circular. Now let's add some constraint. I'm going to say constraint top to top of parent, and let's say constraint start to the start of parent, and constraint in to the end of parent. And let's also add the constraint horizontal bias as 50%, so that our image aligns to center. And inside this card view we're going to add the image view. So image view, and let's say match parent, and let's assign the ID as profile image. And we're going to say scale type as center crop, and let's assign the source as @drawable/John. And I'm going to provide this image as your resource file, or you can use your own image. And in my card view I'm going to add one more constraint, and I'm going to say constraint vertical chain style as packed. And whenever we add packed option in here, our child view will be at the center of our layout. So if we add this spread, so our child view will try to occupy as much as space possible. And after this card view, let's add two more text view, and it is going to represent our name and our post. So let's go below our card view, and let's say text view. So wrap content, and let's give it the ID as profile name, and let's say the text gonna be John Dio. And let's add the text size as 18 sp, and we're going to make this as bold. So text style as bold. So let's change this color as white, and we're going to say margin top as 8 dp. And here we're going to say constraint horizontal bias as 50%, and let's say constraint start to the start of parent, and we want to have our text view below our card view. So in here let's add the ID as card view, and here we're going to say constraint top to the bottom of our card view. Now I'm going to copy this text view, and let's paste that below it, and let's say profile title, And let's say the position gonna be Android developer, and our text size is gonna be 15 sp, and we're not going to make our text as bold. And let me replace this constraint, and I'm going to re-add them one more time. So let's say constraint bottom to the bottom of our view background, and we're going to say constraint top to the bottom of our profile name, and let's say constraint start to the start of parent, and constraint end to the end of parent, and we're going to say constraint horizontal bias as 50%. So our view gets aligned to the center. So our profile name is still not visible, so let's go to here and let's add some constraint, and here we're going to say constraint bottom to the top of our profile title, and instead of adding constraint bottom to bottom, let's say constraint top to the bottom of our card view. And in our card view, we're going to say constraint bottom to the top of our profile name. And this is all we're going to cover in this part. So see you guys in the next one. Hello guys, welcome back. And in this episode, we're going to continue designing our Fragment home. And in this episode, we're going to design this part. So let's go to Android Studio. And before designing our second section, I'm going to say scroll bars as none, because we don't want this kind of vertical bar in our scroll view, and we need to change this spread to packed. So in our previous video I changed back to the spread, but I didn't revert it to the packed. And come to this position, and let me copy this and let's paste that in here, and we're going to say txt experience label, and let's say 5+, and our height gonna be 0 dp and width gonna be 0 dp as well. So by the way, let me format this first of all, and let's add the text size as 20 sp, and our color is gonna be color primary. And let me remove all of this constraint from here, and we're going to add the new constraint. So let's say constraint left to the left of parent, and constraint right to the right of our vertical guideline 33, and we're going to say constraint top to the bottom of our horizontal guideline 30, and let's say text alignment as center, and it says we need to add layout gravity as well. So alt and enter and set gravity as center horizontal, and I'm going to copy this text view and let's paste that in here, and let's say text experience, and we're going to say years experience, and I'm going to replace this constraint with constraint top to the bottom of text experience label, and our text view is still not visible. So let me change this height to wrap content, and instead of constraint bottom to bottom of, I'm going to say constraint top to bottom of, and here is our text view. So let me remove this color and text size from here, and here is our both text. So let me copy both of them and paste that in here, and instead of text experience label, I'm going to say text project label, and here let's say 50+ projects, and I'm going to say text projects. Now let's modify some constraint. So in our left to left constraint, I'm going to say vertical guideline 33, and in our right to right constraint, I'm going to say vertical guideline 66, and instead of text experience label, I'm going to say text project label. Now let's change some constraint for this text project label as well. So here we're going to say vertical guideline 33 and vertical guideline 66. Okay, so this is all we need to do. So let me copy this to text view one more time, and let's paste that in here, and instead of text project label, let's say text clients label, and here I'm going to say 30+, and in our constraint left to left, I'm going to say vertical guideline 66, and in our right to right constraint, I'm going to say parent, and here we're going to say text clients, and let's change this to vertical guideline 66, and let's call it parent. And instead of text project label, we're going to say text client label, and let's say happy clients, and let's change this text as well. So here I'm going to say projects, and here's our design so far. So see you guys in the next part. And in this episode we're going to design this part. So let's go to our Android Studio, and below this happy clients, let's add one card view, and we're going to say 0dp as width, and height gonna be wrap content, and let's give the ID as card view about, and we're going to say elevation as a 5dp, and it will going to provide the shadow effect in our card view. And let's say margin as 8dp, and we're going to say constant end to the end of parent, and constant start to the start of parent, and we're going to say constant top to the bottom of our text clients. And inside this card view we're going to add two text view, and width gonna be 0dp, and our height gonna be wrap content. So let's give the ID as txt underscore bio, and let's see text as about me, and we're going to say text color as color primary, and let's say text style as bold, and let's give the text size as 18 sp, and we need to add some constraint. So let's wrap this text view inside our constraint layout. So match parent and wrap content, and let me put that text view inside our constraint layout, and let's add the constraint as constraint in to the end of parent, and we're going to say constraint start to the start of parent, and let's say constraint top to the top of parent. And here's our text view so far. Now I'm going to copy this text view, and let me paste that in here, and here I'm going to say description, and I'm going to add the lorem text in here. So make sure to add your own version of description. You can add your own bio, or you can actually go to Google and search for lorem ipsum text. And let's remove this text size and text style, and we don't need this color as well. So let me remove that, and let's remove this constraint with constraint top to the bottom of our text underscore bio, and here is our description. Now I'm going to copy this card view, and let's paste that in here, and let's give the ID to this card view as card view mobile, and we're going to say constraint top to the bottom of our card view about. And instead of text bio, let's say text app label, and here we're going to say mobile app development. And I'm going to copy this ID, and let's paste that in here, and here we're going to say text underscore app, and here I'm going to say constraint bottom to the bottom of our horizontal guideline 97. And finally let's add some padding, let's say 8dp, and here also let's add 8dp. Now let's go to our strings.xml, and here make sure to add your name. So let's run this application, and here's our application with our name, and I request you to change this description and your services as per your need. And in the next episode we're going to work on this project tabs. So see you guys in the next one. Hello my dear wonderful people, welcome back, and in this episode we're going to build this UI. So come to your Android Studio and open the fragment underscore projects, and here we don't need this text view, and let's replace this frame layout with grid view, and we want to display 3 columns. So let's say number of columns as 3, and we're going to say vertical spacing as 5 dp, and let's say horizontal spacing as 5 dp as well. And let's set one more property called stretch mode, and we're going to say column width. And let's close this grid view by adding /n angular bracket. And let's add the ID to this grid view as well. So let's say grid view, and we don't need to do anything in this file, so let me close this one. Now let's go and design our item for our grid view. So let me show you what I mean by that. Now let's go and design our layout for this particular item, and we're going to replicate this same layout for all of our data. So let's go to Render Studio and inside our layout and select layout resource file, and we're going to say item client, and let's replace this constraint layout with card view. And I'm going to say wrap content and wrap content, and inside this let's add one linear layout, and I'm going to set the height and width as wrap content, and let's set the orientation as vertical, and inside this let's add one text view. So we're going to say wrap content and wrap content. So let's assign the ID as txt client name, and our text style is going to be bold, and let's add the text as, let's say, Amazon, and let's keep the color as color primary. And in our linear layout let's add some padding, and let's say gravity as center. Now below this text view I'm going to add one image view, and now it's gonna be 100 dp and 100 dp as well. So let's keep the ID as Imageview client logo, and let's keep the margin as 5 dp, and we're going to add the source as, let's say, Amazon. And I hope you have already added these images in your drawable folder, and if you haven't added that file, consider adding that in your drawable folder. And let's say adjust view bound as true, and this is going to be our layout. So let's close this file as well. Now let's go to our package and let's create a file called client model, and we're going to say string as client name and integer as client logo, and let's create the constructor as well. So generate constructor, and here's our constructor, and let's close this class as well. Now let's go to our fragment projects, and we don't need this constructor, so let me remove that. And here I'm going to create a list of our client model, let's say clients, and after that let's get the grid view as well. And here let's override one method called onViewCreated method, and inside this we're going to say grid view is equals to view.findViewID r.id.gridView, and we're going to say clients model as new array list. And inside this client list let me add some of the data. So I'm going to say new client model, and we need to pass its name and image ID. So let's say Amazon, and our image ID is r.drawable.amazon. Similarly let's do it for Apple. Now I'm going to pause this video and add them quickly, and here I've added all those data in our array list. And this is all we're going to cover in this video, and before going into the next video, make sure you have added this data in your array list. So catch you guys in the next part. And in this episode we're going to create the adapter to bind our data into our view. So let's go to our package and let's go to new and Java class, and let's create a file called adapter client, and this is going to extend the base adapter class. So click on this red bulb and implement methods, and here I'm going to create context and a list of client model, and let's create the constructor. And in our getCount method, we're going to return client models dot size, and here we're going to return clients models dot get, and let's pass that position. And from our getItemID method, we're going to return the position. And we don't need to create this default constructor, so let me remove that. And here we need to bind our data to our adapter. So before that, let me create a private static class. Let's call it viewHolder. And inside this, we're going to get Imageview. And let's say client logo and our text view. Let's say client name. And inside this getView method, we're going to use the viewHolder pattern. And we already saw how we can implement that viewHolder pattern. So here I'm going to say client model is equals to client models dot get, and let's pass that position. And here I'm going to declare the object of viewHolder, and let's declare one more variable called view. And we're going to check if convertView is equals to null, then only we want to inflate our layout. So here we're going to say viewHolder is equals to new viewHolder. And let's say layout inflator, because we want to inflate our layout here. So layout inflator dot from context. And we're going to say convertView is equals to layout inflator dot inflate. And inside this, we need to pass our layout ID. So r.layout dot. So let me go to resource. So it's going to be item underscore client. And finally, I'm going to pass the parent and false. And we are getting the error even though we have that file. And this is a bug in Android Studio. If you want to solve this problem, close this Android Studio and restart again. So I'm not going to do that for now. And let's say viewHolder dot client logo as convertView dot find view by id r.id dot ib underscore client logo. And let's get our client name as well. It's equals to convertView dot find view by id r.id dot txt client name. And these two IDs are coming up from our item underscore client. Here you can see ib client logo and text client name. And finally, we're going to say view is equals to convertView. And let's say convertView dot set tag. And let's pass the viewHolder in here. And if our convertView is not null, then we can say viewHolder is equals to convertView dot get tag. And let's cast that to our viewHolder. And finally, we're going to say view is equals to convertView. And let's return that view from here. And I think, instead of creating this view like this, so let me remove that. So let me remove this as well. And I'm going to return the convertView from here directly. So we just got rid of that extra object. And here we're going to say glide dot width. Let's pass our context and load. And we need to load our image. So it's going to be client model dot client logo. And we want to load this image into viewHolder dot client logo. And finally, let's also set our text. So viewHolder dot client name dot set text, and it's going to be client model dot client name. Alright, so we have completed the code in our adapter class. Now let's go to Fragment projects, and this is where we need to set our adapter. So I'm going to say adapter client is equals to new adapter client, and let's pass the context and our client models. And let's say gridView dot set adapter, and let's pass the adapter client. Now let's run this application. And here's our application. Now let's go to our project fragments, and here's the design for our fragment projects. So in the next part, we're going to work on our contact fragments. So see you then. Hello guys, welcome back. And in this episode, we're going to design our contact fragments. So first of all, we're going to need these three icons. So let's go to Android Studio. And in our resource folder, let's go to vector and let me search for email. And I'm going to change this color to black. And let's say icon email. Hit next and finish. So let's go and create the 2 more icons. And let's search for phone. And I'm going to call it icon phone. And let's go and create one last image. So I'm going to search for place. So icon underscore place. So hit next and finish. And we have prepared our drawables. Now let's go to layout and let's open the fragment underscore contact. And let's remove this text view. And instead of frame layout, we're going to say card view. So let's say margin as 16 dp. And our height gonna be wrap content. And inside this card view, I'm going to add the linear layout. It's gonna be match parent and wrap content. And let's say orientation as vertical. And inside this linear layout, we're going to add the relative layout. So match parent wrap content. And let's keep the ID as phone wrapper. And here we're going to say Imageview. Let's say 24 dp and 24 dp here as well. And I'm going to assign the ID as icon phone. And let's set the source as icon underscore phone. And in my relative layout, I'm going to add the padding as 10 dp. And here is our design so far. Now let's go and add the text view. So match parent and wrap content. And let's keep the ID as txt phone. And I'm going to say margin start as 16 dp. And let's add margin left as 16 dp as well. And let's add the text as random phone number. And here is our text view so far. Now let's align our text view towards the right of our phone. And here we're going to say layout to the right of icon phone. And let's also say layout to the end of our icon underscore phone. And here is our text view. So I'm going to copy this entire relative layout and let me paste that twice. And here we're going to say address wrapper. And let's say icon address. Let me copy that, paste that in here. And here we're going to say icon place. And let's change this to text address. And let's say California, USA. And finally, let's change this to email wrapper. And let's give the ID name as icon email. And in our drawable, we can say icon email as well. So let me copy that and I'm going to paste that in here and here as well. And let's change this name to txt email. So let me change this email to, let's say, admin@gmail.com. And here is our final layout. So let's run this application. And here is our application. So let's go to our contact fragment. And here is our contract address. And I request you to add your own original address in here. And I will see you guys in the next part. Hello my dear wonderful people, welcome back. And in this episode I will show you how you can create your APK file. So come to the build option. And here you can see we have two options called build bundles or APKs and generate signed APK or bundle. So our first option called build bundle or APK is going to generate the debug version of your application. And this debug version of APK is very useful whenever you are working with your team or you need to send this APK file to your client. then you need to go for debug APK for most of the time. And in order to build the debug APK, it's very easy. Just click on this menu. And once your build is successful, you will see this dialog. So let me click on this locate, or you can actually go to events log and you can actually click on this option. And just rename this project to whatever you want. So for now, I'm just gonna say copy.apk file. Now you can send this file to whomever you want and they will be able to open your application. But there is one problem with this debug APK. You cannot upload this file to the Google Play Store account. So for that, you need to go for the second option. So let's go to build and let's select generate signed bundle or APK. So for now, let me select the APK version. So let me create the new path. And here we need to specify the path. And I'm going to store this file in my desktop. So let's say learning and hit save. And here we need to provide the password. So let me create the password. And I'm going to add the same password in here as well. And make sure you always remember this alias and password, otherwise you will not be able to update your application later. So make sure to keep that in safe place. So here I'm going to give the first and last name. And I'm not going to fill up the rest of our detail. So let me hit OK. And if you're in Windows, there will be .jks extension by default. But in case of Mac, there is no .jks file by default. So make sure to add that manually. And you can check this box if you want and hit next. And here we're going to select the release version. So hit finish. And once your build is finished, you will see a dialog in your bottom right hand part. Or you can actually click on this event and here you will see an option called locate. And here you can see we have a folder called release and you can actually rename this anything you want. So let's say learning. And outside this folder you will see a file called learning.jks file. And this file is super important while updating our application in Google Play Store. So you always need to save this file in the secure place. And this is all we're going to cover in this video. So see you guys in the next one.